Good evening. Welcome. Brooksy's Bass Corner live chat number 80 tonight, coming to you all the way from London town here in the UK. It's Tuesday night, 8 p.m. here in the UK. You're very welcome. It's good to see you. Got any questions about bass guitars, bass amps, bass effects, bass accessories? You want to talk about bass playing, talk about great bass players? Then this is the place to do it. This is the best bass live chat on YouTube. I can't find any regular others. Some channels do live chats occasionally, but this is the only regular one. Takes place every week. So every Tuesday from 8 p.m. here in London, you'll find a live chat here on Brooksy's Bass Corner. We're running up to December the 17th. We'll be here every Tuesday. So come on in. If you want to talk bass guitars, anything to do with bass playing, really, let's be fair. Use the live chat window, put your comment in, press send, and it'll pop up here on my screen. I can reply to it. Visog's there already. Good to see you, sir. Hope you're well. So if you've not been on a live chat before, maybe you haven't been on here before, you're very welcome. So come on in. So this is the video window. Directly below, you'll see some icons. Underneath that, you'll see a description box. Underneath that, you'll see the comments. If you're on the mobile app, the live chat window is directly below. If you're on the desktop version, it's that way. So go into the comment box, put your insertion point, your cursor, your pointer, whatever you want to call it. Type your message, question, whatever you want to talk about. Press send. It'll pop up here on the live chat window. I can respond to it. All the other fabulous people who come and join in on the weekly live chats will also be able to see it, get involved. Got any problems with your bass playing or your gear, or you're looking for some advice, or maybe you got some gear that's broken or something's not working? This is the place. We can help. We'll try and help. That's what I'm here for. Try and give you any information, advice, a few pointers if you need that. That's what we're here for. If I can't help you, then one of the fine people here on the Brooksy's Bass Corner weekly live chat will try and offer some advice instead. So, done the live chat window. At the bottom of the live chat window, next to the comments section, you'll see there's an emoji icon. Feel free to add emojis to the chat whenever you wish. It's great for the video, great for the channel, gets the algorithm into the frame of mind that you're enjoying the live chat and getting involved. Next to that, you'll see a dollar symbol in a rectangle. It's called Super Chat. Allows you to make a financial contribution to the channel if you wish to do so. You don't have to. Watching the video is free. Getting involved in the live chats is free. Anything here on the channel is free to watch. I don't charge for watching the videos, of course. We are a monetized channel. So if you do want to help out with the channel, keeping it all going, keeping it running, want to do this for as long as possible, preferably, you can hit that super chat button, make a donation. It doesn't have to be very much. It doesn't have to be anything if you don't want to do that. So underneath the video window, you'll see a row of icons. There's a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Please give the video a thumbs up if you'd be so kind. If you're going to give the video a thumbs down, then please leave a comment. Let me know what you're not enjoying about it. Maybe you don't enjoy the channel, don't enjoy the video, don't enjoy my presentation style. Who knows? But yeah, if you're going to give it a thumbs down, then please leave a comment. Next to that, there's a share button. So you can share this video out to social media, email, websites, as you please. Next to that, there's a save button in case you want to save the video to watch at a later date. And then next to that, there's a love heart in a dollar symbol in a love heart. That's called Super Thanks. It's exactly the same way of working as Super Chat. It's just Super Thanks exists on every single video here on the channel. So again, if you want to help the channel keep going, pays for things like the StreamYard subscription, which is what we're running on tonight on YouTube, lights, microphones, stands, cables, bass stuff, pedals, workshop, cleaning materials, all of that gets paid for. So if you want to help the channel out, feel free to do so. Underneath that, you'll find description box. In there, you'll find timestamps. So from midday tomorrow, when this gets uploaded onto YouTube, if you want to go through the live chat very quickly, if you go into the description box, you'll see timestamps, and there will be a breakdown of what we're talking about tonight and the questions that get asked, video references, items that we might talk about. It'll all be in there, and you can jump to it via the description box, or you can do it via the timeline. So if you see a little break in the line, that's going on to the next topic. That's how that works. Underneath that, you'll find merchandise links for Brooksy's Bass Corner branded merch. There's t-shirts, hats, caps, leisure wear. There are mouse mats like this. We're talking that. So obviously I've got one of those, and we're talking mugs and glasses. So if you want to help the channel out, and you'd like something for your donation, then have a look at the merchandise links there. They're provided by Spreadshirt and Spreadshop. Wherever you are in the world, you can buy the merch. They offer a worldwide delivery service, so that's all cool. Underneath that, you'll find affiliate links for vidIQ, StreamYard, Top Cashback, and for bass purchases, music purchases, there's Amazon.com worldwide, Gear for Music, Andertons, and Toman. And then underneath that, in the description box, you'll find the social media links. So you'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, Reddit, Be Real, Quora, Discord, and TikTok. There we go. We're into the live chat. Gareth Harrison from Manchester. Good to see you, my man. Hope you're well. Fire away with your questions and your chat. It's all good. And for anyone who's new to the channel or even the regulars here, you don't just have to be confined to the text window on the live chat. You can now come on here live like I am on video. If you want to talk to me one-to-one, sometimes we get several of us here on the live chat. I think the record is 6. We've had 6 of us talking bass all at the same time. The most people I can have on here is 8. So if you want to come on live and you're all set up, ready to go, no nudity, please. No profanity. Keep it clean and talk bass. That's all I really require. So if you want to get involved by video, email brooksysbasscorner@gmail.com. I'll get an email. I send you an invite link. You click on the link and you come onto the screen live. And it's entirely up to you if you wish to do so. A lot of people seem quite hesitant about it at the moment, but we've ironed gremlins that we had live chats at the beginning of July. We sorted those things out. It seemed to be connected to the Wi-Fi connection rather than running on this desktop, which is connected by an Ethernet cable. So all the sound issues we've had, the visuals, the knocking out of the camera and going to the webcam, it all seems to have been sorted out. So all good. Steffi from Germany, good to see you. Just saw you pop up there. Hello. How are those bass lessons going? Hope everything's going well. So let's think, where are we? It's Tuesday. So last Tuesday was live chat. I had a very, very busy weekend. Basically, the trumpet player in Uncle Funk got married down in Plymouth in the southwest. So basically, my Friday, Saturday, Sunday were written. We were down there, the whole band we were playing, as well as guests of the wedding. So Rosie and Dan, hope you had a fabulous weekend. I know the band did. So they're married, Mr. and Mrs. Higgins. Congratulations. And I'll see you both very soon, I guess, when you get back from honeymoon. So take care over in Canada. Enjoy yourselves and come back safely. Okay. So yeah, that kind of ate up most of my time last week in getting ready for going away for 3 days. That took a fair bit of getting together. So now, as we are out of summer, out of festival season, really, I can now seriously get on with some new content here on the channel. Thank you very much for all sort of waiting for the new stuff. It's I checked my last actual video upload as opposed to a live chat was the 3rd of July. But it's just been kind of manic. We've got some family stuff going on with my mother-in-law as well at the moment. She's very unwell in hospital. So we've been dealing with that. But now that all of the festival shows, summer shows are over, I kind of get back more into a routine of regular 1-2 weeks. Teeth aren't in tonight, are they? 1 or 2 gigs a week. So I can seriously crack on with the new content. So I'm thinking there's going to be a pedal review straight out the box video tomorrow here on the channel. Not sure which one I'm going with yet. I've got 4 that are ready to go. So it's which one of those I think is going to have the most pull here on YouTube. So there will be a video tomorrow, probably do another one Friday, and I may well put a short, a YouTube short up on Thursday. And now I can start having a proper schedule of new content. So keep your eyes peeled on the channel, keep checking back. Make sure you've got the notification bell clicked if you're a subscriber to the channel, because this content now is going to fly out the door. So obviously I don't want any of you to miss it. Visog, how are the rehearsals coming on for your monster sets? Well, we did the first one, as you know, if you saw last week's live chat. So it was Sunday last week. So when we did the live chat last Tuesday, it was 2 days before that. So that was the first complete set run through. And next one, I think, is the 6th of October. And I know, having spoken to the rest of the gang the weekend, there's probably 2 or 3 songs now that we've done a full run through that maybe aren't quite lending themselves to the set as we thought. But that's fine, because we had way too much content anyway. We had something like about 2 hours and 12 minutes. We only really need 2 1-hour sets at the moment. So 2 or 3 songs have already kind of bitten the dust, or they can go on the back burner and we'll come back to them in the new year. But the show's on the 26th of October. So time is passing. It's not long till we get cracking on that. I think it's 5.5 weeks now. So next rehearsal, 6th of October. Then there's a full show rehearsal on the 20th of October. And then the show's the following week. So it's all going on, my friend. It's all going on. So once I get some content up this week, I've got a Queen tribute show on Saturday down on the south coast, heading towards Brighton. And then Sunday, I will be doing a run through of that set at home with the tracks from the rehearsal. So yeah, it's all good. Looking forward to it. There's a lot of work coming my way with that, but there's also a lot of work required with the videos here on the channel. So it's all good. It's going to be busy, just less of the depping, driving all over the place for festivals sort of shenanigans now. So that stops obviously until we get back into sort of April, May next year, and then we go again, and the festivals are already flying in for next summer. So it's all good. So yeah, can't complain, cannot complain. There's plenty going on, and yeah, you know, but there's some, I'm actually really excited about the new content I'm going to have for you people coming up on the channel over the next few weeks. So there's loads of pedal videos to go, load of bass demos, some bass reviews, tidying up of a few things that should have been put up weeks ago that I just haven't had time to do properly. They're done. They're pretty much all edited. I just need the time for the promotion of the videos when on the days that they get uploaded and published. So that's all good. And then there's a load of vintage interviews from the magazine days, so the audio for those. There's the new Billy Sheehan interview, which I'm just waiting for him to confirm what date he wants to do that on, so there'll be that. And yeah, just lots of stuff coming up, really. It's all backlogged. It's just been such a hectic summer. When I was doing the first batch of the straight out the box pedal videos, I thought this is just fine. I'll put 2 or 3 of these up every week. And then the summer just exploded, really. And it just got so frantic. I thought, well, there's no way I can put these videos up and promote them properly. If I put them up and they die, it's like, what's the point of putting them up? So it was best that I keep hold of them. And the channel's been ticking along quite nicely. All the indicators are in green, going upwards. So it's all positive. You know, loads of new subscribers. Thank you if you're one of the new subscribers. Great to have you here. Great to be on board. And, you know, all the shares, all the likes, all the comments. It's all great stuff for the channel, you know, and I can only rely on you people to do that. Otherwise, I'm just producing video content. No one watches it. So it's all good. Visog, Billy Sheehan is a lovely guy. Very funny too. Yeah, he is. He's both of those. I've seen him get narky. Don't think there isn't a side to him that we don't all see often. I have seen him get a little shirty with a few people. So yeah, but he can be very funny. He's very dry. You have to look for the little glint in the eye when he's having a laugh. But yeah, he's a good chap. Good chap. So I'm just waiting for him. He got the email. I'm just waiting for him to pick a day and a time that he wants to do it. He's constantly busy. You know, trying to pin him down to stuff is a little tricky, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, so here we are. So tonight's topic of chat. So you know now that since we came back in July, we tend to have like a topic for us all to discuss on the night. But obviously take anything that you want to talk about here on Brooksy's Bass Corner. So you got any questions about basses, bass amps, bass effects, accessories, strings, gig bags, gear, how to build a pedal board, how to do your first bass audition, maybe you want to put a band together. If you need some help, some advice, put your comments in the text box, in the chat window, press send, and they'll fly up here on the comments, and then we can deal with them. So tonight's topic of conversation. So if you're coming in directly from YouTube, you'll know what the name of this live chat is. So what is the one effect pedal you can't live without? So if you had to do all your gigs going forward from this point and you could only have one pedal, what would it be? I can easily answer it for me. It's an Octave pedal. I can't do without an Octave pedal. It's the pedal I get the most mileage out of. Although I say that, and the Digitech Drop, which is in the red box behind my shoulder over there, that's the fella. That is getting equally as much mileage, and every gig since we came out of lockdown, I've had that pedal on my board, and I'm using it every gig, and that has an Octave facility in it. So if I couldn't have a bells and whistles Octave pedal, I'll have that, and it will give me the detuning element as well. So that for me is what I would choose. And the reason I say that, I've had an Octave pedal in my gearbox since 2001, about 2 weeks before 9/11. A guy posted up on a free ads paper that we used to have here in the UK called Loot. It was the forerunner to Gumtree, and the guy was selling an EBS Grey Label Octabass and their Unichorus pedal. I have both. I still have them here. Let's see, which box are they in? Bear with me, gang. I've got them both here. I just need to know which tub I've got them in. It ain't those. It's not that. It's going to be one of these. Bear with me a moment. I think I showed them on one of the previous synth one there. And in there, the Octave one, which typically looks like it's on the bottom of the stack. Of course, wouldn't be on the easy one, would it? Right, I think it's in here. I think they're both. They are. Here we are. I have them. There we go. So I bought them from a gentleman in Dalston, Kingsland, which is up near Stoke Newington in North London. It was horrible getting there and horrible getting back. But either way, I got both of these pedals. And that one ended up sitting in my gig bag that I take to gigs with all my leads and cables and stuff. And I absolutely leathered this for the best part of about 14 years. It's got a little problem at the moment. It's sometimes you'll be using it and it won't connect the effect properly. You're kind of getting some of it, but not all of it. It doesn't happen all the time. I think it's just an age thing and maybe a dry joint in there. But anyway, that got a lot of mileage. So as that developed an issue, I then moved on to the Black Label EBS unit. Now, obviously with the channel and doing the Uncle Funk stuff where I'm using lots of effects, I now have lots of Octave pedals, of course. So I have, as I say, the EBS Black Label. I've got the Aguilar Optimizer. I've got the MXR Vintage Bass Octave, that fella. And we've got the also the MXR Poly Blue Octave, which is an absolute beast of a pedal. And then there's a couple of others that I've got here knocking about. So why do I get so much mileage out of it? Well, not only does it lend itself to keyboard bass lines, and you're kind of replicating that thing without having to have a bass synth pedal, it's the weight that it adds to your line. So if and to be fair, with most Octave pedals, they don't like going below an A. So your open A string or the 5th fret on an E string. Anything after that, the tracking starts to get a bit iffy, and generally the reproduction going down from that point is not that great. But anything above that, and certainly anything from like a C on the A string upwards, will just give your line, your bass line, using that pedal, using any Octave pedal, so much more weight and body. And depending on the pedal you're using, so on this Octabass, all I've got are 2 controls: the normal, which is your dry signal, and the octave. But on the Black Label one, you've got a switch in the middle that allows you to accentuate the low frequencies, mid frequencies, and high frequencies. So if you want the effect to really stand out and be audible, then you're going to choose either the mids or the highs. If you want a lot of low end, not boom, but like power, then you're going to select the low frequencies. So with the Black Label now, I have that on my board most of the time, and I have the Digitech drop pedal. So between those two, I have 2 very different sounding Octave effects, but I use them for different things in different songs. So in terms of if you're playing in a bar or a pub or a general sort of non-function environment, like a general bar gig, having an Octave pedal, especially if you're not going through a PA and you're just relying on backline, an Octave pedal will just give you that bit more identity, a bit more character into your bass tone. But also, if there's a part in the song where it's going up high and you might have a little bass run or a motif, if you kick the Octave pedal in, suddenly it sounds so much bigger. It really does. And anything that's a little bit high and noodly, a bit flowery, maybe, that sometimes in a pub or club environment, no one's really going to hear it, to be fair. If you kick an Octave pedal in, they're going to hear it, and they're going to feel it. So it kind of adds something to your bass tone. As I say, it's kind of like it's almost like a character pedal. It just gives the bass sound far more character. There's also on some Octave pedals, well, this is as simple as it gets, really. Normal and octave. If you take the normal off and just run on the octave, you suddenly end up with like a sub bass effect, and it can sound really good. And I know some bass lines on some songs where that's been used, and it just sounds absolutely superb. But again, it's a thing of experimenting. You test these things out. So that's my shout. That's the one pedal. It doesn't have to be the EBS Octabass Grey Label. It could be any Octave pedal. I can make it work for me. But that's, for me, the one pedal I can't live without. Visog, he's saying probably a compressor. You see, now I don't use compressors. I do have one now on my board for this new theatre show because there's a lot of keyboard bass that I've got to keep tamed. There's going to be a lot of transient in some of the pedals that I'm using for the bass lines on this new show. So there will be a compressor on that. But generally, I don't use compressor pedals or any form of compression when I'm playing live. Soundman might add some at the board, but certainly from my end, I never do. I tend to like to control my own dynamics. Gareth Harrison, a tuner pedal. Well, yeah, I should have stipulated that from the start, but obviously you can have a clip-on tuner. if we're going to get pernickety, you know. The goodness, I don't think you've been here on the channel before, or certainly on the live chat. It's good to see you. Welcome. Does my HX stomp count? Well, that's a multi-effects unit, isn't it? So physically, yes, it counts as one pedal, but it's got multiple effects in it. So what would you pick out of all those effects? You can only have one. What are you picking? What's your selection there? Don't forget, if you want to come onto the live chat by video, perhaps you've got the pedal you want to demonstrate. Play for us. Tell us, show us the pedal you reference. And you can do that. Just send an email to brooksy'sbasscorner@gmail.com. I'll send you an invite into the live chat. You click on it, and then your video will be up and running, and we can have a chat. Cheers, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Hope your bass playing's going well. If you're out gigging this week, enjoy. Gareth, I mainly use chorus and fuzz. Good choices. Which brands and particular pedals are you using there, Gareth? The goodness, if I had to pick one effect from it, I'll probably be the deluxe compressor. Okay, always on. Okay. What genre are you playing, goodness? If you're keeping a compressor on, I'm guessing you've got some noise, maybe some distortion, maybe some fuzz. What are you using the compressor to do? Maybe you're a slap monster. Maybe that's sort of taming the transients. Let me know. Let me know. Yeah, I got everything running there. That's good. Very good. So yeah, now on this new theatre project, there's going to be, well, I've said this before, my pedal board is about to expand rapidly. So I've got to reconfigure my pedal train Classic 2. And there's going to be somewhere in the region of about 12 pedals on there. There's a lot of bass synth parts going on. There's a lot of literally a very broad spectrum of different bass sounds. And in my head, I'm thinking I'm going to need several basses. I might be able not to have more than two by making really good use of my pedals. So it's going to be so much on there. But, you know, we're covering virtually 45 years of bass, going from the late 70s right up to the current day. And some of those bass tones are just out there. And a lot of it is bass synth, but they all sound slightly different. So my bass synth pedals, and I've got 3, they're all getting dragged out next week when I sit down and finally get all my sounds nailed. So at the moment, I know what my parts are for each song. So now it's, as I say, next week will be some tone sculpting and fiddling around with presets and making extensive notes for me to refer to for the rehearsal on the 6th. Gareth Harrison, bass Big Muff. Okay, an EHX Big Muff, no doubt. And a cheap chord guitar chorus to emulate Peter Hook's tone. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. The goodness, Church and Rock, my main patch has compression, overdrive, octave, and chorus for options. Okay, with the Tone Hammer amp model. Okay, well, yeah, I'm using the Aguilar Tone Hammer as my preamp pedal that goes out to our main desk. So, yeah, and actually, I've started using the distortion on there a little more. Actually, I used it on the rehearsal the other week, along with an octave pedal, to simulate certain bass synth sounds, and it works really well, but it can get a little raucous because there is no distortion control. It's either on or off, but it works fine, you know. It does work fine. But yeah, reading your patches there, your main patches, compression, overdrive, octave, and chorus. What's not to like, you know? That's good stuff. Very nice indeed. So yeah, keep those suggestions coming in. What is the one effect pedal you can't live without? Tone hammer does what it does beautifully. Yep, that's the thing. It's really simple. Very difficult to lose your tone with the tone hammer, and a little goes a long way. I was never aware quite how very minor adjustments on those controls. If you're listening, so sometimes when we're doing sound check and everyone's not making a din, which to be fair isn't that often, but occasionally if I get like a 5-10 minute slot to myself, I can play some games with the sound man and I can tinker a bit and get the tones how I want. Bearing in mind, a lot of the times when I'm playing with Uncle Funk, I'm using a GB Rumor, which has got an 18 dB cut and boost on the circuit, and I'm playing around with sounds all the time. So I try and get the tone hammer how I want it for each gig, and then I do a lot of my tone sculpting on the bass. But it's all good, works fine for me. I've worked that way for so long that I like setting amps, and now when I'm doing in-ear stuff, the preamp pedal, it's not that I want it flat, I just want it fairly even and consistent, and then I can do a lot of boosting and cutting on the bass. But if I'm using an amp, I always want the amp to be giving me the best sound for that room or that venue. So, if we've got a boomy stage, I'll deal with that at the amp end. If we've got bass going down through the stage and out, again, I'll deal with that at the amp, not on the bass. I might boost the bass frequencies on the bass, but I'll keep the bass delivery from the amp and the cab slightly reduced. Gareth Harrison, set the amp flat and tweak it for the room. That's exactly what I do. That's exactly it. Years of experience have taught me that. Now, some people like to tweak the EQ on their amp and not on their bass. They want to leave it flat, in which case, why have you got a bass with EQ? But that's by the by. I like being able to adjust my EQ as I go. I'm not one for fiddling. I like to get a sound I need and bang. But because of a lot of the gigs and bands I've worked with, excuse me, over the years, certainly in covers bands, you're covering a wide variety of material. So one bass tone doesn't fit all. But for years, while my tonal battering ram was my main squeeze, my status graphite empathy, sorry. Oh, I haven't got an LED battery. This has a 3-band EQ with sweepable mids. So generally I would have my main sort of tone, which would be pickup favoring the front pickup, but not. So if we're on a center detent, I would just bias that pickup more than that. Then I would use the treble boosted probably about 75%. Bass would be boosted 75 to 90%. I'd have the mids boosted. Very rare in my old covers band that I ever had the mids flat or cut. And yet when I went into other bands, I would. Yet in my 3-piece covers band, to fill the frequency spectrum, I would always have the mids boosted, and I would find the sweet spot at sound check on every gig. And that kind of worked for me for years. So I'd have kind of like a basic tonal character for that bass and the amp setup I had. And then as each song went, if I needed more clarity and sort of sizzle for slapping, and if that's what the song required, like if you're doing something like Uptown Funk, it's kind of very thick sounding, but with a crisp top end. I knew how to get that sound on there. If I needed something that was a bit more old school, sort of low mids, not a lot of clarity or fizz, then I knew how to take those out of the sound, and I can do all that from the bass. Don't even need to be near the amp. And that's generally how I like to work. That's what works for me. It might work for you, it might not, but that's kind of what's always worked for me when it comes to basses, you know. So yeah. So how are we looking? How are we looking? No one's applying for video chat at the moment. And we got 7 people on. Good to see you. Thank you for joining in, if you're there. Gareth Harrison, mids are your best friend. Absolutely. Some people don't realize that. No, I can wax lyrical about that. For the first couple of years in my professional career, I was using a Kabiki, which didn't have any mid cut or boost. And my next bass after that was a 3-band Stingray. And the tonal difference was huge. And I could never match them to get same levels. And the Stingray was like a petulant, loud, noisy child. And the Kabiki was like a smooth, refined velvet sheet. You know, it was 2 very different basses, very different tones. And the Stingray was just, with its mids and glassy highs, was just like, wolf, crikey, you know, needed taming. But that's what they're like. But, you know, I learned with that bass, mids are your friend. Absolutely. And knowing how mids work and how they interact with the other frequencies will get you out of jail on a problematic stage or a boomy room or a room that's just got hard surfaces in. If you learn how to use mids, it's the same thing as people going, I haven't got enough top end. And so they boost their treble to like full whack. And it's like, well, how about you roll your treble off a little from full whack and just reduce your bottom end? And suddenly your clarity reappears. And it's just knowing those minor adjustments. Many's the time I've walked into a rehearsal studio, seen a bass amp with graphic EQ and everything flat out. It's like, you feel like we want to educate people. It's like, you don't need to do that. Flatten it out. Find your frequencies to get your tone, and then what is missing or what is causing a problem. And then you find your frequency and either cut it or boost it, whichever you need. That's the way to do it. You know, but you know, I need more bottom end. So they boost the bottom end like full whack. It's like, just take some of the top end off. You won't need to run the bass boost quite as hard. And like what? Yeah, classic smiley face. But you see, the smiley face has a place, because it doesn't need to be totally extreme, but that is a certain sound that if you've got a non-temperamental stage or room, a smiley face actually works really well for some things. Not everything. But if you don't need mids in there and you're doing a lot of slapping, then that's probably going to work for you. But again, it's trial and error. You know, some stages, some rooms, a smiley face is not what you're going to want. You might find it sucking all the mid range out, in which case you need to boost your mids, maybe back off the low end a little. But you only learn this stuff doing it, you know. It's all well and good. And you know, for 40 years, I've been aware of bedroom warriors who have great playing and great chops in their bedroom. YouTube is a great, what's the word? An advert for them to do that, and then put them on a gig and they're totally lost and you can't hear a thing. I remember going to see a band at the Roadhouse in Covent Garden. It must have been about 13 years ago. An old friend of mine and I went out for a night in London. We didn't have gigs. It was middle of winter. And we went round all the places in central London that we knew had covers bands on. And there was a band who were very popular at the time, and they were playing at the Roadhouse, and the bass player had a Warwick. I think it was a Corvette, and he basically had the bass boosted, treble boosted. I don't think there was a mid control on the Corvettes, and he had an Ashdown rig, and again, smiley face on the amp, smiley face on the bass, and it was one of the worst bass sounds I've ever heard. Well, it wasn't bass; it was just boom, boom and top end clatter. And I couldn't actually tell you any notes he played. It looked like he was having a great gig, but it was a bass tone from hell. And you felt like going up to the stage. And I knew some of the band, and I would have gone on there and gone, just take that down a bit, that down a bit, and just boost that one up, and you'll be all right. But it was awful. And I spoke to the sound man about it a week or two later because I was in there. And I said, what was that all about? He said, that's just the way that guy plays. He said, it's awful, isn't it? I went, I couldn't tell you anything he played. It had no relevance to the way the band sounded. I said, the guitarist was great, drummer was great, singer was great. I said, but the bass was absolutely atrocious. But there we are. Happy days. Gareth, it's all good setting your tone at bedroom level, but crank the volume and it alters the tone so much it's often unusable. Exactly. And I've seen these people with like all the gear and a rack in their bedroom, and they're going like hell for leather. But like I say, get them out on a stage and it's irrelevant. But they have no knowledge of what they need to do or how to do it, because that's not the environment they're playing in. They're playing in their bedroom, and that's fine if that's what they want to do. But it's until you get out on a gig and you suddenly realize, oh, actually, no, this isn't working, is it? And you only learn it from doing it. I mean, it took me probably about 6 months to learn effective mid-frequency sort of control, and how you get on a stage that's hollow and your bass tone is just, and the guy out the front's going, my God, the whole room's filled with bass. And what's happening is your frequencies are coming out of the cabinet, going down through a hollow stage, and it's open at the front. So it comes down and out, and that's what's flooding the room. So you have to find a way for that not to happen, but use the mids on your amp to create a tone that's workable. But again, until you see it happen, I mean, I was very lucky that I learned all this on a Hartke amp. So I had the red LED graphic, and a sound man just said, I'm going to give you a little lesson. And he just sat me down for about 15 minutes and he showed me how to do it all. And he kept firing frequencies that were causing problems in the room. And he said, right, here's how you adjust it. And he just showed it all to me, and it worked a treat. Never forget it. Bill Clinton, surely not the Bill Clinton. What's your favorite movie? Wrong chat, Bill. This is bass here, not movies. We're talking basses, bass guitars. What's your favorite bass, Bill? You tell me. Oh, hounds have come to visit. What are you doing? I'm doing a live chat. You got to stay there, mister. Gareth Harrison, that's how I learned too, the Hartke HA3500. You and me both. I had one of the first ones in the country in 1992, July 1992, no less. And I had that and a 4x10 XL. And they did me proud for about 10 years. And then the amplifier started acquiring dry joints, and I started getting issues and amps packing up on gigs. And that was when I moved over to EBS, which you may be able to see a couple of Fafner amps in the rack over there. And yeah. Oh, you had the 4x10 transporter. Yeah, I knew lots of people that had the 4x10 transporter, and those were the same people that almost with alarming regularity, most weekends, would pay a visit to the bass center in Wapping to have their ripped cones replaced. And you'd have chats with them at gigs and say, why have you got a transporter? Well, it's light. Like, yeah. You had any ripped cones? Yeah, loads. Why? I said, because the transporter cab is not built for bass frequencies. It's built for lightness. It can't handle the sound pressure when the bass EQ is boosted. And that's what's causing the cones to rip. Thankfully, in the whole time I had that cabinet, it only blew one cone. And that wasn't to do with volume level. It was to do with me leaving it in a van overnight in December on a Christmas tour and turning it on at the next gig, and then deciding to go a bit hell for leather with the Stingray. And the bottom end was, well, I think it was the bottom end. I was going for power. in a glam rock tribute, and the cone just split. But it was fine. I went to the bass centre the following day and handed over my old one. They gave me a new one for 80 quid. And the show happened that night. So that was all good. You modified yours by adding a port to the rear. Yep, that'll do it. Because the original ones didn't have ports. Oh, no, it had ports on the front, didn't they? Yeah. Okay, so you added one to the rear. Fair enough. Because in the original XLs and Transporters, there was no tweeter, of course. So it was quite a different tonal output from those cabs. And then when they started doing the ones with tweeters, it all changed again. It was like, wow, okay. Because the original 410s had kind of like a high mid bias with the aluminium cones. I loved it. Worked great for me. But it was only when the Westport, good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome. It was when the dry joints started kicking in. So the first one happened in 1999 at the Roadhouse. Jamie Moses from Brian May's band was playing on the gig that I was doing. He stood right next to me. My amp just packed up. I was like, the amp was running and everything, but there was no sound coming out. It was a dry joint on the board. And then the ribbon cable on the EQ went, and that had to be replaced. And then for the next 2 or 3 years, I had probably 2 or 3 dry joints, and by which time it was like, I can't carry on like this. This has got to go. So I sold the amp and the cab on and moved over to EBS gear. Now very happy with Aguilar gear. So, and I've still got all my EBS stuff. It's a very different tone to the Aguilar stuff. So I keep it in case I need it. And the amps are great. Cabinets are very different sounding to Aguilar, but I do like the Aguilar tone as well. So depending on what work I'm doing, what gigs I'm doing, who I'm playing for, I can pick and choose what I want to take on any gig. So it's all good. It's all good. So how is everyone? If anyone's been buying stuff, let us know what you've been buying. Anyone got their eye on some new gear? Let me know. Let's know what's going on. So it's coming up 10 to 9 here on live chat number 80. We've reached 80 live chats here on Brooksy's Bass Corner. They've flown by. The goodness, right, going back to effects. For a time, I used a Boss Blues driver for my overdrive, and it worked really well. Yeah, that's always been a bit of a revered pedal. I remember when they first came out, and bass players started using them, and they said it's really got the bottom end, because back then we didn't really have bass-only overdrive. They've been around quite a while. Certainly, lots of people rate them. Gareth Harrison, that happened to me, and I switched to a PV Mark 6 head and kept the Hartke cab. Yeah. And the other thing with Hartke stuff was the heads never kept their value. And actually now, all that original Hartke stuff you can pick up for a snip on eBay. I remember seeing someone selling a 2 4x10 XLs and an amp for something like 200 quid, which is a bargain if it's all working with no dry joints. Someone's going to get a great setup there. Having said that, the cabs weighed a ton. So, everyone wants neodymium cabs now, lightweight stuff. Westfort pulled the trigger and bought JD Supernatural 3. Good man. Color, pictures. Oh, you can't send pictures. You can come on the live chat by video if you want to show it off. Of course. You can play it as well on camera. Did you buy this brand new, or is it secondhand? Gareth, I use Mark bass gear now. Okay, fair enough. Not my particular preference. I've played through stuff a couple of times. Always kind of leaves me a little bit wanting, but that's fine. What works for you works for you. Westfort, you bought it brand new. Excellent. Color? What color did you get? White body wings, very good. Good start. Good start. Like a white bass. Just be prepared that it will go cream over time. No matter what you do with it, where you store it, or how you look after it, it will go cream. I promise you. What timbers have you got there? What timbers have you got in it? Fingerboard, laminates. Have you gone for the full Star Child effect? Gold hardware, lovely. I like a bit of gold hardware on a white bass. I know we're low on numbers tonight because the Champions League's up and running. I'm sure we'll get a little bit of a surge later on. For those who want to know scores, Aston Villa beat Young Boys 3-0. Juventus are 3-1 up against PSV. Liverpool 2-1 up against AC Milan. Bayern Munich are 3-0 up against Dynamo Zagreb. Real Madrid and Stuttgart 0-0. And Sporting... Is that Sporting Lisbon? Yeah. Sporting Lisbon are 1-0 up against Lille. Okay. Very good. Neck and headstock binding. Very nice. Gold hardware. Yeah. Grand. I'm assuming ebony fingerboard. Oh, okay. Right. So you haven't got it. You've just put the order down. Okay. You might be waiting some time. You might be waiting 3 or 4 years for that, but good luck. Unless they've got one in stock that's ready to go. But I don't think JD carries stock. I think they just make to order. Gareth found a gig bag from a Jack Cassidy, the Mono Vertigo. And that's the one I told you, wasn't it? That's the one I use for my my alembics. Good. I'm glad we got that. Did you get a good deal on it, Gareth? I thought that might be the winner for you. Actually, I thought the Warwick ones might also have been a goer, but the mono's a better bag. Just obviously costs more, but it's that length for the neck and the headstock that is the winner. Uh, 175x display at PMT. There you go. Bargainous. Bargainous. Well, that's good. That'll offer plenty of protection for that base. Good. Canny shopping is what I like to see. Well done. You'll have to come and join in on Black Friday. I'll be doing another show like I did last year. For about 4 or 5 hours on Black Friday, we round up all the base deals that are out there. I'm well up for a bit of canny shopping here and there. So try and find you guys loads of good deals. It was a good show last year. I went very hoarse by the end because it was constant talking. But and also back then we didn't have the live video option, whereas this year we will. So it'll be good. That'll be good this year. And it was good last year because Amazon had a huge number of Rotor Sound string deals in the week leading up to Black Friday. So I was able to find a load of cheap strings for those who like Rotor Sounds. And I know quite a few of the regulars here on Brooksy's Bass Corner got good deals that day, that week, actually. Richard Evans, good to see you. How's it all going up there? You wrapping up warm for winter? Yes, canny shopping. That's what we're all about here. Hope you're doing well, mate. Hope life is treating you well. Yeah, we've got 13 people on at the moment. Thank you very much for joining in. If you're watching and not getting involved, that's all cool. It's better if you do get involved. You use the comment section in the chat window. Put your pointer or cursor in the comment box. Type your comment, press send, and it'll appear here in the live chat. And then me and everyone else can respond. And if you want to join in by video, you can. You send an email to, let me get that banner up for you. If you email brooksysbasscorner@gmail.com, it's on the ticker running at the bottom of the screen. Send me an email. I'll send you an invite link. You click on the link, and then you can come into the chat by video. That's how it works. Simple as that. We can have up to 8 people on here all at once chatting. So if you've got any bass issues or anything you want to talk about bass related, come on in. Richard, crazy busy with cottages, so not getting online too often. That's all right. Hope that business venture's all going well. How's the bass playing going? Did you get all the amp and bass shenanigans sorted? Because you got that dodgy back, of course. Just coming up to 9 o'clock here in London town, here in the UK. This is live chat number 80 here on Brooksy's Bass Corner. You're very welcome. It's good to see you. If you're looking for any help or advice with bass guitars, bass effects, bass amps, or you just want to come and chew the bass fat, then feel free. That's what we're here for. Every Tuesday, we're going up until December the 17th, just before Christmas. George Iliadis from Australia. Good to see you. How you doing, mate? Hope everything's good. Starting to warm up down there, I suspect. Heading towards summer. We're hitting autumn, you're in spring. Don't forget, Christmas coming up. Stock up on your Brooksy's Bass Corner merch. Actually, I'm going to take that little banner off the screen there. You can see this wonderful T-shirt. God. Designed by my own fair hand, I'll have you know. So, wind your band up, right? Tip the bass player. They're the reason you're dancing. You can have that applied to any T-shirt on the merchandise shop. So if you want one of these T-shirts or any of the T-shirts in Brooksy's Bass Corner, we've got the caps, of course, got the mugs, all of that fabulous exploding guitar. We've got the mouse mats, of course. I just showed them before, but show you again with the exploding bass. So Christmas coming. If you want to help the channel and looking for some bass related goodies, have a look at the merchandise. The links are in the description box below. Obviously, everything you buy doesn't necessarily go towards the channel, but we get an affiliate commission from Spreadshirt. So you get something for your donation and the channel gets a kickback from the merch company. It's all click to order. I don't keep any of the merch here. So you have to go onto the store and look at so there's basically 15 designs and there's over 150 items of merch. So it's all applied. You'll find all the bass quote, legend quote shirts and mugs there from the likes of Lee Sklar, Nathan East, Chris Squire, Mark King. They're all there. Richard Evans only just starting to play again after carpal tunnel op on left hand. Oh, I hope that heals quickly. Fancy a Nordstrom cat or a Seric Grombed. I presume the B didn't need to be there. Probably a Seric Grande, I think is what you probably meant there. Gareth Harrison, have you considered MIDI switching on your board? No, because I don't need it. The only thing I was going to use MIDI on. Are you? Sorry, the dog's causing a problem. Come here. No, Charlie, come here. I'm going to show you. Here, come to Dad. Come here. Come here. I'm going to put you on screen. Come here. Gee. Oh, the three-legged chihuahua decided he wasn't coming on the screen. What was I talking about? MIDI. Right. So the only thing that I ever had MIDI-wise, actually two things. So the PV bass effects, but I wasn't thinking about doing that with MIDI, although it's got its own MIDI floor controller, which I have. The main thing I was considering doing with MIDI, probably about 2007, was I've got that. Let me get my big head out of the way. So that amp there, that's an Ashdown Superfly, and it can store 99 EQ presets. So Ashdown, obviously, are the company that came after Trace Elliott with Mark Gooday, and Mark was there when they developed the MP11, which was the MIDI programmable floor controller that allowed you with an MP11 Trace interface to store, I think it was 10 EQ presets. Well, that stores 99, and it was one of the first sort of Class D amplifiers. Charlie, come here. Come here. You keep running away. Come here. Come here, you sod. Come here. Dad. No, he's not. Are you coming? I can hold you up. No, you're not coming. No. That was Ashdown's first attempt at, I think it was the first one they did, of a Class D amp. So basically you can set the EQs and then you press save and it stores it in the memory. It was a great amp, but when you compare it with Class D now, it's really heavy, and it had a tendency to overheat and had a few other little idiosyncrasies which didn't inspire the utmost confidence on gigs. So I stopped using it after about 18 months. It threw a bit of a Benny on a gig I did once, and the front just stopped doing anything. So that was my only, I was going to hook that up with MIDI and save all the different EQs. But then the band I was in at the time, I only really ever set the EQ on the amp at the start of the gig, and that was it. I was doing all my EQ changes on my bass. So that was that, really. But no, I've not had any thoughts about doing MIDI stuff since, really. I find with that stuff, and I've done loads of gigs over the years. I mean, we're talking 30 years as a pro next year, 37 years as a player. I've done so many gigs with guitarists who have MIDI switching this and MIDI switching that and effects here and there and and when it all goes wrong, it goes really wrong. And I don't like being in that position. I'd much rather have sort of pedals where I'm hands-on, I can change things, and if something's not working, even in the middle of a gig, and just take that pedal off the board, get it out the way, and just repatch, and away we go. In between songs, obviously. But no, I don't really go for the whole MIDI switching thing. It might be over time if this theatre show really kicks off and I need to progress the sounds, that I might need to look at it, but at the moment I don't think so. Gareth, I bought a Tesco value-based t-shirt with the warning may contain bum notes. Well, might do, might not. It's not always the bass player that plays the bum notes either. That's for sure. Jeffrey Boyle, welcome. Good to see you. Hope you're well. Hope everything's good where you are. So got no one here in the email looking to join by video. I know later on we will be getting someone by video, and that will be the debonair, handsome, beyond reproach, Bill Clements from the US. He's at work at the moment, but he wanted to come on the live chat last week by video, and we kind of ran out of time. So he said he's gonna come on by video this week. So that's all good when he gets home from work. Excellent stuff. So let's put that banner back up. So yeah, topic of discussion this week. What is the one effect pedal you can't live without? It might be something as obvious as a distortion pedal or a fuzz pedal, or maybe an envelope filter, maybe something like a deep impact or a future impact. Maybe for me, it's an Octave pedal. You know, I get so much mileage out of them every gig. And I've actually, well, since we came out of lockdown, I've been part of Uncle Funk. I've really like progressed with my effect pedal use. And I don't honestly think now I'll probably ever do a gig without an Octave pedal there, whether it's part of a board or standalone. Jeffrey Boyle, good thanks. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, US, representing. Yes, indeed. Hope you're well. Hope everything's going good. So yeah, let us know. What's the one effect pedal you can't live without? We had some chat about it already. But for me, it's Octave pedals. You know, this was my first one. I remember buying it. I remember the train journey over to Dalston, Kingsland to buy it 2 weeks before 9/11. And I went on holiday about 5 days later and then flew back on 9/11. That was an interesting flight. Kevin Allen, good to see you. Compressor for you. That's two people. Was it three? No, three people. Said they can't live without a compressor. And there you go. See, I can live without a compressor. It's very rare that I ever use one live. Use one for studio stuff. And they've come a long way. Look, since I started playing and since I first started gigging, compressor pedals are a whole lot better than they used to be. But the problem is on most of them is that you don't have enough controls to control all the different elements that you really need to in order to apply effective compression. In a studio, you're going to be using rack mounts, and there might be a minimum of like 6 or 7 controls on there. The really good ones have even more. But they have got better. Or the Origin Effects ones, Cali 76, all of those are good. There's the MXR pedal, which is good, but it has a tendency to break and play up, which is a known problem. There's the EBS one, of course. There's the Boss one. Actually, Boss now have a dedicated bass one. But there's so many out there, you know, and they don't all sound the same. I remember reviewing the Diamond compressor, which was a yellow one, which was all the rage because Paul Turner was using it. It was about £350, I think. Sounded great, really good. But again, I just didn't feel there was enough controls on it to make it a valid alternative to a studio rack mount. But there we are. Gareth Harrison's looking at Tech 21 bass fly rig. Okay, what do you want to use that for? Because I understand the principle of it. It's small, easy to transport. I don't know how good the effects on it are. I've never actually had one to try. I know when we had one for the mag for review, I didn't get it. I think it went to Chris Hamby. It might have been Joel, my editor. He might have done it. I didn't get it, so I probably had too many basses to review that month. Okay. So if you want to come on to the live chat by video, you can. It doesn't have to just be in the text chat window. You can email me, brooksyspacecorner@gmail.com. I'll send you an invite. You click on the invite and you're on. It's as simple as that. Goodness, I had a fly right. I presume that is. Yes, you meant to put a T, not an R. Gareth Harrison, has the Sons amp preamp with added effects? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And what they were very popular when they first came out, especially for traveling musicians abroad who didn't want to take cases of pedals, and you don't want all security giving you a load of hard time. Kevin Allen, quick question: RE strings. Am I okay using long scale strings on a short scale? No, no, you're not. You want short scale strings or medium scale strings. If you use long scale strings on a short scale, you're going to need to cut quite a lot of excess off. You risk the string unwinding, which is why you really want short scale strings. My granddaughter wants me to build her a bass, and I have to oblige. Lots of brands do short scale strings. So, go to any of the major retailers, PMT, Guitar, or Strings Direct, or anywhere that sells bass strings. Really, they will have some brands that have short scale. And as short scale basses have become more popular over the last 10 years, there's been a huge upsurge in the number of short scale string options. So no, don't use long, get some short scale strings. It's fine when you've got a long scale string and you're cutting off excess because you're not getting into the serious parts of the winding. But on a short scale bass, you're going to be cutting so much excess off. You're going to be cutting core and windings, and it's not going to be a happy situation. The good news: Fly Rig sold it, and it eventually got my Stomp XL. Right, understood. Richard Evans, Gareth, I have the cheaper Valaton Dapper. Okay, can you get a cream for that? Do you need tablets? So I'm winding you up, of course. Kevin Allen, she wants the neon pink ones to go with the pink Hello Kitty bass. Well, the neon pink ones, you're looking at DR strings. So let's try and help you here. I'm just going to go on DR and see what short scale offering. I have a feeling you won't get short scale in neon. But let's have a look. Yeah, okay. Right, here we go. I don't know if there are other companies doing the neons, but we can have a look. Right. Oh, I had this before when I was looking, didn't I? Mm, mm, mm. Oh. Okay. DRs only do one. Oh, they do two short scale bass strings, high beams and sunbeams. You aren't going to get neons. They're going to be long scale. It's not going to happen, I'm afraid. It's not going to happen. You could buy a set of neons and cut them and see if it works, but I think you'll be wasting 42 quid, to be fair. I don't think that's going to work. But you can try it if you want. But I think you'll end up throwing away a very expensive set of strings. I don't think anyone else does coloured bass strings, as far as I'm aware. You can get coated ones, of course, but no, I think it's proprietary. I think only DRs do those. Unless anyone knows any different, but I don't. No, I'm not seeing it. Just loads and loads of DRs, nothing but. No. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work for you, Kev, I'm afraid. But like I say, you can buy a set and see how you get on. Maybe you'll be the exception to the rule, but I've always been told that if you cut long scales to fit short, you are risking the strings just basically uncoiling. But there we go. Amazon do a cheap set for $7.99. Okay, there we go. You got a link for that at all? I see there's a company doing coloured bass strings on eBay, £6.61. But I don't no, that's you want them all one colour, don't you? These are multiple colours. Hmm. Lots of cream needed, Richard. Yeah, quite right. Very good. We've got 11 people on at the moment. You're very welcome. Come and join in the live chat here on Brooksy's Bass Corner, of course. You got any questions about basses, amps, effects, accessories, strings, gig bags, pedals, setting up a pedal board, how to learn 44 songs in a day? I can help you with all these things. Yeah, we're all good. So what's everyone's Christmas list looking like? It's the dreaded C word. It's coming your way. It's coming your way. Anyone spied what they're going to be asking their families and other halves to buy for them? We got NAM coming up in January as well. There's going to be loads of new product coming out, which will be great. Look forward to seeing what's new out there. So there will be the new videos, the demos and review videos for the Viv Wilcock bass, the H22 that you saw last week. Still here to my left. And I've still got the Neil Murray snake bites here. So those videos will be coming up, I would imagine, start next week. And I need to get all those basses back as well. So, and then there'll be some more bits and bobs coming up as well. Possibly some more bass center basses, depending on what they've got in stock when I go down there to take the snake bites back. So we will see what young Barry has to offer. Gareth, a drum stool, as I'm doing a few gigs with an acoustic trio, which will be seated. Okay, I have a drum stool, and it's destroyed my wooden floor here in my office where I've been doing videos and what have you. I heartily recommend, and you being a man who's gone the PMT and found yourself a good gig bag, I have like a piano stool over here, which I got for Christmas last year. It's got metal foldable legs and rubber to stop it sliding. It's far more comfortable to sit on. It's like a rectangular padded seat. It's far more comfy than the drum stool. Don't get a drum unless you're getting like a really nice drum stool, the ones that are kind of a bit sort of molded and fitted to the old crutch. But the piano stool's a much better bet. It's a much more comfortable experience when I'm sat down filming videos now. So Take it from me. The piano stool is a better investment unless you're spending decent money on a decent drum stool. A cheap drum stool, will give you a dead backside, and the metal feet will chew up a wooden floor. So, or scratch like a slate floor. But yeah, take it from someone who knows. I've been there. My floor's been there as well. It's made a right old mess. Even when I've had that drum stool on mats, it still managed to score the wood underneath, which not good. Not good. I don't know what I'm going to have on my my bass requirements list this year. We'll have to see. Have to see. Might be some more camera equipment, to be fair, but we'll see. I haven't even got that far. I've only just got out of summer and getting all the chaos of all the gigs sorted out. So we will see. We will see. So as I said earlier, it's Queen tribute gig this weekend. Got quite a few of them between now and Christmas. So haven't done one for goodness 3-4 weeks. So got to get back into that. Got to run all of that over the next couple of days. Be good fun. Bill Clements, good to see you. I sent you an email earlier. You should have the invite for the live chat, my friend. Should be in your inbox. So go get yourself a drink, wind down after work, and when you're ready, click on that invite and you'll come through here and I can invite you to join. Got my headphones ready so I can hear you. Gareth, you are getting strings, cables, and picks always come in handy. Quite right. Quite right. Problem is, I've got 2 boxes of strings in that garage. I've got to start doing some workshop videos, and I'm thinking I'm probably going to do them next week. So looking at the basses in here, the Stingray's going to get a new set of strings. Alembic 20th anniversary is getting a new set of strings and a battery change. The Fender FSR is getting new strings and a neck adjustment. The Lakeland is getting new foam under the pickups because the foam in it is atrocious. Betsy's fine as she is. The Aria's good. The Fender that I use for the Queen shows predominantly, this little number, this is having some new foam put under the pickups as well. Get a little bit of a polish as well. I think we'll get some cream of carnauba wax on there. Bill, no, the invite is in your email. I sent it earlier, a couple of hours ago. The reminder, when you say you got a reminder, that'll be YouTube. You need to go into your email and you should have a response from brooksy'sbasscorner@gmail.com. And I sent you a little email with an invite in there. Kevin Allen, Yuletide. I'm seriously considering a new bass, Gombo Hero Chan model, or an Atlancia Alien, but worried about shipping from Japan. That's the problem. You see things overseas, it might get to you or it might not. I'm sure it would be fine. And if you pay on a credit card, you've got your Section 75 cover. So if it turned up looking like firewood, you could claim it all back. Credit card will help you there. So yeah, so the Fender for the Queen show is going to have some new foam. The Lodestone with the Sims pickups might have a string change. Spitfire's good. GB's good. Mike Dern's good. That's all right. My Lakeland 5502 needs a little spot of wood glue where the string tree retainer is. One of those screws will not go down. It's strip the wood out. So I've got to replace that with some glue. JD needs the screws, kindly donated by Joe Goose. That needs to go into 2 of the bridge saddles. They need putting in. And then I can start adjusting the height, give it a setup. And the Harley Benton Marquis needs a string change and a full setup. That one's all right. That's all right. Then obviously the Alembic Persuader that I bought about 7 weeks ago, that needs a new set of strings, bit of a setup, bit of a cleanup. And the Lodestone up there, the white one, that needs a full string change, clean up, set up the lot. So there'll be loads of workshop videos. I was going to do those next week. Gareth Harrison, what are your thoughts on U basses? Are we talking Kahler U basses? Is that what we're talking about? If it is, the Kahler stuff's good. I did a review of a few. They are what they are. They're a bit of a novelty. And I know some people say, oh, well, Bagiti Kamalo uses them on stage. Yeah, but again, it's a bit of a novelty. They've got a good bass tone. I wouldn't want to use one on stage, frankly. I think they're just far too fiddly. But for home playing, home practice, a bit of fun down the pub, maybe, or you're doing small gigs that you sat down, trying to play one stood up. You're going to need it up here. It's going to be like George Formby, isn't it? You know, when I'm cleaning windows and all that. John Cooper, good to see you. Evening, Mike and all. Effects pedal, line 6 pod go. Right, pick one effect off of that. Bit of a cheat as it's everything in one. Correct. DI straight into the PA and mostly use EQ, compression, then call up chorus, octave and distortion as needed. Excellent. How did your gig go? You did tell me actually last week. Remind us, because you've just bought a Status Empathy and you're getting used. Well, Empathy Series 2. Has Dawn come back to you with the serial number details yet? I still think that's an Empathy. I really do. But if she's checked it and said it's a Series 2, it's a Series 2. Just the fact it was a 1994, I didn't think they were producing Series 2s after 91, 92. The Empathy, as I recall Rob telling me, the Empathy superseded the Series 2s. So, and I don't recall Series 2s being made at the same time as Empathies, but Gareth Harrison, yes, I bought a Harley Benton one, but hardly use it. Okay. I didn't know Harley Benton did a version of the U bass, but there we go. It's always there if you fancy a play, but don't want to pull a large bass out. Where's that strap? Hanging up, isn't it? It's hanging up. There we go. I'll put a bass on. There we go. This one will be coming out for a spin on Saturday. Bit of John Deacon coming our way. That's what it'll be. Gig was great. Still waiting for Dawn. Status is great. Still getting used to the string spacing, which is tight, especially for slap, but lovely feel and tone and lighter than your Warwick Thumb. Yep. I hear you. I hear you. Kev Bass, U Bass was going to say too few frets for your life. Just checked, and some go up to 22. I think I reviewed the Journeyman one back in about 2018. I think it sounded great. It was good fun. But I could never see myself using one on a gig. Don't know. Maybe that's just me being snobby. Oh, out of tune. Mm-hmm. So if you want to come in on the Bill, see ya. I can put my headphones on. Coming your way. Here we go. We'll get you on. Bill Clements, talk to us.
Howdy.
I can hear you. Good start. All right, what you got there?
This here is my Artisan Bass Works bass with the Martin Sims pickups in it.
Oh, very nice. Very
How's
nice.
that level? That too loud?
Yeah. What's your favorite setting with the pickups?
I like the humbucker bridge only, pretty much.
Okay. Now, what I like is humbucker at the neck and a split coil on the bridge.
You know, they've all got interesting bits to them. It's
Yeah.
just a question of what you're going after at any given moment. But as a
That's it.
go-to, I find that the most tone that I think of as mine comes from that bridge humbucker.
Yeah, cool. Cool.
Let me give it a little more juice here.
Yeah, and what preamp have you got in that?
You know, I do not know. It's just whatever one comes standard.
Okay. So did Martin Sims fit those, or did you get them done there in the States?
He sent them over to the Artisan people, and they took care of it for me.
Okay. Right. Got you. Excellent. It's very flexible setup, that.
Yes, and this bass is kind of interesting. It's got an angled neck in it, and I don't know if it comes through.
Okay.
That you can see so much from the back, but it's always supposed to sort of sit up at about 1 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And it does a pretty good job of that.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Very nice.
And I've got this one tuned down to BEAD.
Okay. What's the scale?
It's got the 23 frets. It's
okay.
It's up there.
So is it 34-inch standard long scale, or are you on a 35?
I believe it is, yes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I think of it as my Entwistle bass.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. Yeah, those pickups, they're just so flexible. But what I found, having reviewed quite a few of the basses when Martin, well, actually, I did the very first review of that. So at the time, it wasn't two separate pickups, it was one. I can actually pull the magazine out. Hold on. Take this guitar off. Talk sense. 2 seconds. I can pull the magazine out. I got front cover that issue. Hold on. Take the headphones off. 2 seconds. It's here. It was December 2008. So where are we? There we go. Where are you? Spare me a minute. It's too fast. 7, 8. It's gonna be there. Hold on, gang. I'm coming back. Big box magazine. Right. There we go. Get my headphones back on. I can hear. So I did the very first review of the Martin Sims bass when it came out. So it wasn't two separate pickups. It was one big pickup, and it was called the Super 8. Here it is.
Right on. I'll see you. I'll see you in Regia magazine cover.
Yeah. That was a little later, quite a bit later. Yep. So I did that bass. So that was the very first Canon. So it was before the Lionheart models, and that pickup was called the Super 8, and basically designed by Martin and John East to do what those two pickups do, but in one unit. The next iteration of that was the Avengers. So basically, lots of people saw that bass and went, yeah, it looks too exotic. It's too much like a coffee table bass. And band leaders were saying to bass players that were using them, why can't you get one that looks like a Fender? So he had to come up with another range, which was the Avenger basses that looked like there were P versions and J's, but exactly the same circuitry, bridge, pickup. And I remember after that one, and I think that came about, actually, I could even be in here as well. It was about a year later. And I said to Martin, you know exactly what you got to do with this, don't you? And he said, what? I said, you've got to split that pickup. I said, that's what's holding you back. If you can split that pickup into two separates, it's going to fly, because you'll then got a retrofit pickup system. He said, well, I don't want to do that. No, it's only ever going to be the one unit, and it's going to be called the Super 8, and that's it. And if people don't like it, they have to buy the bass to get the pickup. Then wind the clock forward about 6 years, and all of a sudden, super quads are there. And I remember walking past him at Bass Guitar Show in London in 2014. No, it couldn't have been, because I wasn't there. It was either 2013 or 2015. And I said, I knew you'd do those. He said, all you had to do was find a way to be able to produce it, not in the one unit, but in the two. And you're onto a winner. I don't know how many he's sold now, but I mean, he's obviously sold a few. Just need to shut my office door. Hold on. Back in 2 seconds. So that was that. And I'm very grateful to Martin, because he always, when we were at the magazine, he always came to us when he had something new, as he would, you know, British bass retailer, maker, luthier, all of that. And he would come to us, but we always got the exclusives, which was great. So thank you, Martin, if you're watching. And,
well, I hope he is. I haven't got to see him since my NAMM show days.
Yeah, he's I think he's been a bit unwell. He kind of not taken a back seat, but he's been a bit ill with something. I don't know if it was COVID related, but now at Sims they don't do all the spraying and stuff that they used to, and refinishing. They're still doing the LEDs. I think they still do the pickups, but his bass making, like the Lionhearts and all of that, that's all stopped. So anyone that's got a Sims bass, keep a hold of it, because it's going to be worth something.
That fellow who's his best buddy there, is his name Dave? What's got all the huge bass collection?
Nick Smith.
Nick, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
that's the guy.
No, Nick stopped working for him probably. I mean, you'd have to ask Nick. I think around about 2017, 2018. Nick was one of he did a lot of demoing for Martin, but also he was one of his agents for selling basses. So where Nick's based in, there we are. We're moving you to a different window. Hold on, that's all good. Nick was based, or is based, up in Peterborough, so it's a fair big distance between the two locations. So anyone around Peterborough and that area of the UK could go to Nick and say, this is the bass I want, and this is, and so then he would pass the order through to Sims. He would get a commission, and the order happened and then went off to the client. But for whatever reason, and I don't know the ins and outs, I think Nick stopped working for him from about 2017, 2018. So I don't know the full story with that, but Nick's fine and well. Nick is the guy I bought my Alembic Persuader off a couple of weeks ago. So
tell him hello. That's the guy that actually physically lifted me up and carried me over to the
sounds about right. He's doing good. He plays he's actually got a gardening business, a guitar and bass setting up business, and the other thing he does, he plays in a Genesis / Phil Collins tribute band.
Yeah,
and they're very busy. So as well as doing loads of other stuff sort of around Peterborough way. So no, he's constantly busy. He's all good. He's all good. Gareth Harrison, what's my favorite Queen bass line to play? Wowzers. I think my favorite line ever to play is Millionaire's Waltz, but we never play it in our Queen tribute. I also used to love playing Staying Power, which is the first track on Hot Space. They haven't played it live since '84. They probably never will. But I did a thing with Neil Fairclough, who is the touring bassist for Queen and Adam Lambert, at the 2016 London Bass Show. And one of the tracks he played, and not only did he play it, he sang it as well. So no one would ever have heard John Deacon play that bass line live. He never played it. He played guitar on when they did it live on live shows. The bass line was played by the keyboard player. So for Neil to play it and sing it was something. I stood right next to him while he did it. Did the whole song with a live drummer, and there is footage of it on YouTube. Actually, let me see if I can find that. There was loads of little segments of Neil doing his masterclass. We'll find it. London Bass Show. Here we go. Oh, it's 15 seconds. That's not really what I wanted. Oh, well, let's see. That might be enough. Let me just run it. It might be enough. We will see. I thought there was a bit more of it, but maybe not. Perhaps not. I think. Oh, that's not it. That's not it at all. That's the wrong bit, you fool. That's the bit. Oh, there we go. That's it. I got it. There we are. So anyone wants to see that? I don't think I'm on camera, actually. No, I was off the stage at that point, thank God. But yeah, so he actually played it. He played the whole song and sang it with a live drummer and bass. That was it. So that's one of my faves to play. I always like the stuff like Bring Back Leroy Brown and Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon, Seaside Rendezvous. But John Deacon's bass playing at that time, he was all over the fretboard. Very experimental, very prog in places, but just great, very melodic, well thought out bass lines. So there's so many, Gareth. There's so many I like playing. And I'm very fortunate, it's my favorite band. And finally, after all these years, I get to do some Queen tribute shows, and it's always a pleasure. It really is. And I try to do my best job I possibly can, replicate what the man came up with. Kev Allen, it's not a bass collection without a Fender P bass and an Alembic. Discuss. Easy. Right, Fender P bass. I don't particularly like them. I think they're great for recording with. I think they're dreadful for gigs. But it's one of those bass sounds we've grown up through our lives for the past 70 years hearing. Same as a jazz bass, they're there. But as time has gone on, I've found I've had to use P basses more and more. First one I bought was Fender Precision Light on my 18th birthday. But that's not really a proper Fender P, let's be fair.
I swear by mine.
I've still got it. It's here. I'm keeping it for old age. So when it's all the other basses are too heavy, I'll go to this. But I had the circuit's the same. That's never been changed. But I did change the pickups in 1994. So this has got some of those Seymour Duncan EQ switch pickups. I'm never convinced these switches actually bloody do anything. I can't hear any difference. And I've sort of checked on Google and searched online to see if I can find anything for it. I found the instruction manual, but again, I still can't really hear that they're doing anything. But anyway, they're Seymour Duncans. They're better than the Fender pickups that were on there. And then the first proper P bass I bought was in 2005, which is the Mike Dirnt one, which is here, which has a neck like a baseball bat. It's huge. And now fitted with flat wounds instead of round wounds, but it's great. you know. So that's the Mike Dirnt. So that was my first proper P. Sounds like one. It's got I think it's a 59 split coil, which is so grindy. It's like, but actually the flat wounds have tamed it a bit, so that's all good. But yeah, so yes, Kevin, you do need an element of P in your collection. I think it will come in handy at some point. And the alembics, I'm just a huge alembic fan. I've been one since 1988, and they all are slightly different, all very idiosyncratic in their own way, all sound and play. I mean, I've got 3, and they all sound different. They all play different. They all feel different, but they are what they are, you know. And some people can get on with them, some people can't. I'm willing to put up with the idiosyncrasies for the tone, because nothing sounds like them. I've never found basses that sound like alembics. So, and that's my 2 penneth on that. Gareth, did you hear about the indie band the Raytons recruiting Gary Neville as a dep on bass? No. Really? I guess his Sky Sports money is running out. He can't play bass. I'm a Man U fan and he can't play bass, all right? There's no way. But having said that, I guess it'll pull people in through the door. So, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. If anyone out there wants to join me and Bill on the live chat, feel free. You can email me, Brooksy's Bass Corner, just as Bill did, brooksysbasscorner@gmail.com. I'll send you an invite. You click on the invite, you're here on screen, just as Bill is. Here he is, laying down some grooves. What strings have you got on there, Bill?
I got some. I got the Cobalt Flats.
Oh, the Ernie balls.
Yeah, I really like those a lot. Especially since I do a lot of the videos here just with my cell phone. I find that the less string noise I got coming off the neck, the better. So
I get it.
You know, it's funny how the string noise is still acoustically louder sometimes than even the drum machine and whatnot. So
yeah.
just those.
How'd you find they last?
What? Pardon?
How'd you find that they last? Do they last a long time for you?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, because of the flat, you know, all you got to do is wipe them down, and they come right back to life. They're, you know, any crud that gets accumulated, there's no porousness to really get in there, so they come right back to life. Same thing with the tape wounds too. Unless something happens with the core, you're pretty much good indefinitely.
Yeah. So have you got a bass that's got tape wounds on as well? Have you?
Yeah, my P bass and both my J's, especially the fretted, I find.
Okay.
I mean, especially my fretless. That one really sounds. And I got that idea listening from a lot of Buster Williams on upright. Just love his tone. So that's really kind of the thing that led me to that.
So are those tape wounds a larger gauge? Because I know with rotor sounds you have to have their tape wounds are called true bass, and the E string is like something like 140.
Yeah, these are Diodarios. They're not
Oh,
particularly.
okay.
I think it's just 100 through 45, very standard.
Right.
But yeah, especially on the fretless, they sound great.
Cheers, Bill. Thanks for joining in. Excellent.
Right on. I came home so quick I didn't have time to pick up any beer.
You can play catch up later.
I shall.
So yeah. Well, that's a hell of a bass. Sounds great.
Why, thank you. I've got her down low because I don't want to clip. I find.
Yeah.
But
that's what happens. I've found out trying to run basses either through the audio interface or through an amp. It doesn't matter what volume you play at, you get this weird sort of squelchy thing going on because the microphone or the audio interface can't deal with the transients over a live connection. It's fine when you're recording audio for a video. It seems to do that perfectly well. But in a live context.
Last night and I was clipping all over the place with my frets. And I thought I had her down low too, but it still
doesn't seem to matter. As I found out multiple times. I
got my MXR classic distortion on here too. That's my favorite.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Effects pedal, as I believe that was the topic du jour.
That is the topic of discussion. That's right. Is that an old one?
Yeah, well, it's not. It's one of the only ones I always make sure I got one in the box in case something
Ah,
happens to the one I'm currently using because I like it that well.
yeah. Yeah, no, the MXR stuff's great. Some of their distortions, if you put them up against like other brands, you can tell which one is an MXR. How they
It took,
tune their effects is really good.
yeah, it took me a long time to get to the distinction between overdrive and distortion, and I found that overdrive tends to kill the attack of what I do.
Yeah. The idea is it smooths out, it takes the hardness away.
Yeah, and
Whereas
I don't like that.
a distortion will just keep going.
Yeah,
And then
the
fuzz is another
16th
thing
note kind of
entirely.
stuff. The 16th note kind of stuff that I do with overdrive gets muddy real fast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
it
like
will
to
do
keep
because
keep
it's
it
taking
crisp.
a lot of it's taking the transient out of the attack.
Yeah, yeah. But it took
So
me
instead of it
forever
being like
trial and
that,
error.
it will be smoother.
Yep, it took forever for me to like, oh, that's what's going on here. I see.
That's it. See, anyone applying a compressor to that would then be smoothing it off even more, and that's when people suddenly go, "Oh, I don't like compressors." It's like, no, no, there's a way of applying it, but it's not always necessary that certainly with stuff like overdrive that you need to apply a compressor. It's already doing it. That's the whole nature of what an overdrive is. People think overdrive and distortion is the same thing. It's not. It's two separate things.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way. The only compression I tend to use is on my old PV amps that have that
Mm,
DDT speaker kind of buffer in there.
mhm.
That I like really well, but any kind of outboard compression I tend not to use.
Yeah, likewise, on gigs, I just don't need it, and I like or my early attempts to integrate compression when I was playing live just sapped my playing of dynamics. And again, it's like on a pedal, if you haven't got the array of controls that you would have like on a rack mount in a studio, you can't do the fine tuning, and that's where a compressor comes into its own. If you try
Yep,
and do everything with like 3 or 4 controls, it's a bit of a
a lot of
cack-handed
gear
way of doing it.
a lot of gearhead guys right when I first came out playing after my accident with one hand was saying, "Oh, you got to use compression. That's what you need." And yes, of course, after once again trial and error, I found that a fancy studio rack mount compressor helps, but the kind of stuff you use on the fly in a stomp box just mushes everything.
No. Yeah. It's kind of a bit of a blunt instrument. It'll do the job, but it's
Yep,
not doing what you think a compressor would normally do in a recording situation where you have control over so many separate characteristics. Whereas on a stomp pedal, it's like it's like trying to hammer a very small nail with like a ball and chain. It's like it'll do it, but it's a bit of a
yeah,
weird
they
way of
lack
going about
subtlety,
it.
as you say.
That's it. That's it. Now we're looking on the mess. Oh no, okay, we're still on the same message. Very good. Let's see how the stream health is. Says it's excellent. So that's good too. Excellent. That's a fine sounding bass.
Yeah, and once again, I thank you for that. And once again,
That's all right.
that's that just humbucker with the mids cranked and the treble all the way off, the
Mm-hmm.
low set right around noon. But I tend to back all the high end off of my stuff because it sounds
Too clattery.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. A lot of ambient fret noise that gets through that you don't like, especially if you want that kind of jazz fusiony tone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, I hate to say this because I like playing loud too, but at a lower volume, you can really do a lot more with tone than you can at a high volume, depending on your rig,
Yeah.
really.
No, agreed. 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 It's a good way of learning your instrument, actually. Oh, Stacy from North Carolina's appeared. Hello there. Yeah, it's a good way of learning how your instrument responds to frequency changes. You don't always have to play loud to hear that. You can sometimes hear more when it's quiet
Yep.
than flailing away and thinking, well, I need more of this or more of that. When you play at a low, I mean, when I do gear reviews or when I did them for the magazine, and we'd go into stores and we'd do like 10 in a day. you can't be you can't be in a store for 7 or 8 hours reviewing 10 basses at full volume. It's just that doesn't really work, you know. So you've got to find a way to be able to cover as much mileage in the review as you can while you're testing at a lower volume. And then it's, for me anyway,
Doesn't
the,
fly
the
in your ears
sign
if
of a
you
good,
get halfway through, you know?
well, exactly, but also test for me of a good bass is what's it like acoustically. So turn the volume off, hold it against you, and is it resonating when you're playing, or is there, if there's no resonance there, then you know you're going to be relying on pickups and circuit to do all the work. Whereas if you've
Yeah,
got a quite resonant bass that's lively because of timbre and construction, actually the preamp and the pickups have to do less work. So,
yeah. Good
you know,
fundamental is key. If there's not a fundamental
that's it.
acoustic note coming off the
No, I
instrument,
totally agree. Totally agree.
yeah,
Although I
can't.
say that, and like a Status Graphite Series 2000, which is, people always think they're all graphite. They're not. It's got a wooden core or a foam core, but these don't resonate that well when you're holding it against you because the circuit and the pickups are doing the work. That's the difference. But
I had me one of those, a couple of those Washburn Status
oh yeah,
clones,
yeah. Well,
which
they're
were
all
fine
wood.
bases, but it wasn't
They're all
the,
wood.
you
No, it's
know,
not. It's not. And I find it quite funny that there are people on Facebook and various bass forums trying to sell Washburn statuses for £1,500, and it's like, they're not £1,500 in anyone's book. It's, you're going off the status name, and I love it when people post them up and call them a proper status, and it's,
yeah.
they're
I wish
not.
I hadn't sold mine. I had a fretted and a fretless, but you're
Mhm.
right. They're not exactly the real McCoy, so to speak.
I had one that had been very, very, very butchered, and I bought it knowing that I was going to do it up. And someone had ripped the frets out, the electronics were shot, but it really had a lot of fretless character about it. And I
It
could have
wasn't a
kept
black. It
it,
wasn't
and
black, was it?
no, someone had stripped it down to the bare timber. And
Because
one of the pickups wasn't sitting in
my
there.
fretless one was black.
Ah, okay. But just
It'd be
playing it as
fun
a
to end
fretless,
up with
what
mine.
what what little you could play with it, it really had like loads of mid guts to it. And in the end, it was like someone saw it when they came around, went, "Oh, I'll buy that off you." And it's like, well, okay, well, fine, give me, £100 and you can take it. Because I thought, I'm not going to get round to it. And lo and behold, I didn't. But he did buy it. Let's see. There's some messages there. Keval, I guess choice of compressor as my essential is down to my playing punk tunes mostly. Okay, with less dynamic range. Got it. Stacey Ann, my oh my, I've got a lot to catch up on. Yeah, we're busy, Stace. There's no hanging about here. We get down to business, as you know. So yeah. So what's next on your shopping list, Bill?
Well, probably going to have to get a new stage rig as I'm starting to work up a live set after
Okay.
a few years of not really being that entertainer driven. But now I've got enough
Mm-hmm.
ideas, and I'm starting to work with a guitar player who digs my stuff enough to
Okay.
justify it. So try to find,
Cool.
some of that mark based stuff looks pretty enticing. I kind of got my eye on that a little bit.
Okay. Okay. And do you want like smaller cabinets that are easy to transport? I guess probably like
Yeah,
a couple of
doing every
110s or some 2.8s.
well, doing every I would settle for a good 115 actually.
Okay.
Moving all your gear with one hand kind of, is problematic as it is. And right now my stage rig is an old Ampeg 18 and
Oh,
uh,
crikey.
yeah, it's a workout.
Well, may I suggest then you might want to look at having 112 cabinets, so you'll keep a level of roundness that you won't get from eights or tens. But if you had, like, for example, there was a fashion a few years back for companies like Aguilar and
I
EBS
had
and
a
some of the others.
212 from them.
They also do 112s and 110s. So maybe a mix and match there, maybe like two 112s, because then they're smaller boxes, easier to transport.
Either that or I just might bring somebody along to move my stuff.
Well, there's always that as well. That'll eat into your taking, so because they'll
Well,
want wage.
I have to rely on my charm to get somebody involved in that, really.
Oh, well, that'll fill the boots. That will. Let's see what we got. Gareth Harrison, same as the Tanglewood overwater basses. Yes, agreed. John Cooper, I had a Washburn status all through university, best I could afford at the time. Did loads of versatile gigs, but the neck was like a banana. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But I know that Status, when I had that one I bought, and I contacted Status about it, and they went, we do not offer any support for these basses because they're not ours, they're Washburn. And I said, can I get a truss rod wrench for it? And she said, no, we don't do any of it. We don't, any spares apart from the bridge and the pickups, none of it we provide. So if you need spares, you're going to have to get in touch with Washburn. And that was another reason to offload it. I just thought it's going to be one nightmare after another, so that had to
If
go.
memory serves, those are just one piece of wood for the neck, and the fretboard was graphite. So one piece of wood is going to react really
it was
quickly.
either phenolic or ebonol, I think was the timber for that, ebonol, which is kind of an offcast of ebony, but it just sounded great, just acoustically it sounded really good, but I thought I'm just not going to get around to getting this all tarted up, so moved it on. Kev Allen, Mark bass cabs are incredibly light. Yet, in fact, every amplifier brand now has light cabs. So, if you find a particular tone or delivery that you like, then find the speaker size that suits you, and away you go. Really. Right, we're up to date on those. That's all good. And where are we? Just gone 10 o'clock here, London, UK. Brooksy's Bass Corner live chat number 80. You're very welcome. Come on in if you've got any questions about basses, guitars, amps, effects, accessories, strings, gig bags, you name it, we talk about it. If you're looking to build a pedal board, looking to buy some amps, looking for some advice, maybe you're looking to buy some new gear. Maybe your gear's blown up or something's gone wrong and you need to speak to someone, you can't get to the shop. Let me know if I can help. I'm more than happy to do so. If I can't, one of the fine people here on Brooksy's Bass Corner live chats may well know the answer. That's what we're here for, giving out advice and help where it's required. So if you want to come onto the live chat, and I've got lovely Bill here from the US here. If you want to join in our chat, you can. Just email brooksysbasscorner@gmail.com. There's a ticker running along the bottom of the screen. Send me an email. I'll send you an invite. You click on the invite, just like Bill did, and you can come in on the live chat. It's as simple as that. So this is the video window. If you're new to live chats, the live chat window on the mobile app is directly below. On the desktop, it's that way. Put your cursor, insertion point, pointer, whatever you want to call it, into the leaving a comment section. Type your comment or question, press send, it'll pop up here on the live chat. Feel free to add emojis. That's very handy for the YouTube algorithm. Next to that, you'll see the super chat facility, which is a rectangle with a dollar symbol in it. If you want to help the channel, keep the channel going, help to just keep the whole thing running and keeping the wheels oiled, you can donate to the channel. You don't have to. It's free to watch the videos. But if you want to help out, click on that super chat button. It's very much appreciated. Underneath the video, you'll find thumbs up, thumbs down. Feel free to give the video a thumbs up. If you're going to give it a thumbs down, please leave a comment. Let me know what you don't enjoy or what you didn't like. That's how I make it better. You'll also find share buttons. So you can share this video out to social media, email, websites. There's a save button. There's also super thanks, which is the same as super chat, but super thanks exists on every single video here on the channel. Again, if you want to make a donation to the channel, you can do so. Another way to help the channel is to buy Brooksy's Bass Corner merch. If you go in the description box, you'll find links for the merch along with affiliate links for Top Cashback, vidIQ, StreamYard, Amazon.com, Toman, Gear for Music, and Andertons. And then underneath that in the description box, you'll find social media links, and you'll find some Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, Be Real, Reddit, Quora, Discord, and TikTok. Done. There we go. Right, back to the messages. There's been a few flying in. Kevin Allen, no one is as light as Mark bass. I was horrified when I picked one up, almost threw it in the air. Okay. Gareth Harrison, do you use the effects loop on the amp or straight into the amp? Is that for me, Gareth, or for Bill? I tend not to use effects loops. They're good for things like modulation and delay. I tend not to use any delay. I can't remember last time I used delay. Generally, I just plug into the I go into my tuner on my board. It goes round the various pedals. That then ends up the last pedal in my chain is my Aguilar tone hammer. That then has a DI out, and that goes straight to front of house. In 4 years since we came, well, 3.5 since we came out of lockdown, I have had no issues with any of my pedals, the preamp, or my signal. So as far as I'm concerned, I take that as sort of a success. That's a thumbs up in my book. Kevin Allen, no idea how they sound, and they don't stock 18-inch cabs. Okay. John Cooper, what do you think of the Phil Jones cabs? Yeah, they're great. I had a bunch of Phil Jones stuff for review over my time at Bass Guitar Magazine.
Phil's
Always
a good
loved
guy.
the gear. Yeah, he's very good, and he listens to what his players are doing. You know, any suggestions they come up with. I have a PJB briefcase, very good. I only use it with my double bass for jazz gigs. Okay, all other gigs, my stage rig is a thing of the past. All through the PA now. Same. Well, I'm in both camps. So with Uncle Funk, I'm on IEMs. We have no backline at all. So now I could just turn up with 2 basses, my costume bag, and my pedal case, which got my leads and stuff in. That's it. That's all I take. When I'm doing the Queen shows, I need backline. So generally, I try and get an idea of the size of the place we're playing, how big the crowd's going to be. Invariably, that's going to be going through front house anyway. So I don't want to flood the room with bass. But if it's a big outdoor stage, I might have 2 Aguilar SL212 cabs. And then I'll decide if I'm going to use both cabs, I'll be using a DB751. If I'm only going to use one cab, then I'll use my AG700. And that's does everything I need on the Queen shows. ABBA stuff, I tend to only use one cab and one head, usually one SL212 and an AG700. The girls in ABBA bands hate loads of bass. So really, it's only there, or certainly in the ABBA band I play with, the keyboard player, who's the head bloke, band leader, is in front of me. He likes a bit of bass delivery. So I'll always have a cab and an amp there. But if we've got a problematic stage or not a great sound man or woman, I'll just turn the amplification off and just, I'm on in ears anyway, and just go with the pedal board. So if they want to try and remove bass frequency from the stage, I don't have a problem with that. Blame Lewis, the one pedal I can't live without is the EBS Octave. You and me both, sir. Although this is an old grey label one. I've used the black label these days, but I've still got this. As long as it doesn't go wrong, it's fine.
I'm fond of the Boss OC3 or OC2.
Oh, yeah.
One is.
Yeah. Well, there's the 2, a 3, and a 5. OC2s are the original ones.
I got 2.
Okay. Oh, well, that's it. That's Pino Palladino land. Definitely. Classic sound. Classic.
I'm also fond of the Electro-Harmonic Small Stone.
Haven't tried that.
I don't think they make them anymore, actually. Mine's fairly antiquated.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll tell you what. I'll quickly Google and I'll tell you. EHX Small Stone. I think that went to a nano pedal. Yeah, they did there was the original one, which I can see here. And then they went to the nanos. That was like the start of companies starting to produce smaller versions of pedals. And
yeah, this fairly beefy pedal here. Let me see.
Yeah, they do this. They do the nano of the Small Stone. I think they also do that for their chorus pedal as well.
Yeah, this guy right here. That's the old school.
Oh, wow. Now that is the old school one. Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, you need to be keeping hold of that. That'll be worth a few bob.
Yeah, it's got a great tone to it. It doesn't nothing. The closest thing I've found is maybe the Phase 90 that I like.
Yep.
But this is
Yeah, XR. Yeah,
this is the real deal.
that's it. That's it. The old stuff. I can't say the old stuff is the best, otherwise nothing would ever develop. But the old stuff is quality because it's like the first iterations, you know.
Tender has a certain character to it.
That's it. EHX pedals themselves, they have a bit like, well, as you use more pedals by certain brands, you realize they have a characteristic sound. You know, Boss pedals have a sound of their own. EHX does, MXR does, the EBS stuff does, the Aguilar does. They have an ethos, a design ethos, and you know, generally any company is they will suggest this is what our next run is going to be, and they'll pick out 5 or 6 effects, and they're building around a certain architecture.
I'll tell you
And
one I
that's how
wish
they
I hadn't got rid of is the giant 2-space Rollin chorus that first came out. That the power supply was built into it. You didn't even plug an adapter into it. It was a
Oh, yeah.
tank, and it
Was that a
sounded
pedal
great.
or a rack mount?
No, it
Was
was a
that the rack
pedal,
mount?
but it was like a
Oh,
double-sized pedal, like
yeah.
2 of those small stones, really. And it had
Was
2
that the
settings
space
on it.
chorus?
Yeah,
Space
yeah.
chorus. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. And I, once again, when money got tight, I sold that, and I shouldn't have.
Yeah. Yeah, those things, like all of those early Boss versions now are worth, well, it was the point where Roland started up with having Boss as its pedal sideline, and it was like all of those are worth a pretty penny now. Kev Allen, most small venues I attend have either an orange of some kind, Jesus, or something plugged into an Ampeg fridge. Rare that I see bands turn up with amps these days, but still not generally going straight to desk. Yeah, you see, I'm not doing a lot of the pubs and clubs that I used to do. So in those days, I would always have backline. In-ears wasn't even an option because the gear was too expensive. And in your pub club band, we didn't have the bells and whistle PAs that a lot of people have now, you know, and having a wireless router-based PA mixer, which then deals with all your in-ears, and that wasn't a thing until 2018, 2019, I think, when Behringer started coming out with theirs. And Lord knows it would have made gigging and hearing yourself a whole lot easier and a lot less gear carrying, but it was what it was. So, you know, I don't see what's going on in the pubs and clubs at the moment because I'm not doing them. To be fair, I'm doing Uncle Funk stuff, and that's all theatres and private dues and festivals. The Queen stuff is much the same, and so's the ABBA stuff. So I'm out of touch with the amplification requirements on pub gigs. Gareth Harrison always wanted to try the EBS Signature Drive. Trying to remember which pedal that is. EBS Signature Drive. I might have it. Is that the one with the valve? Or are we talking the Billy Sheehan Signature Drive? Billy Sheehan. Okay, I've got the first and the third iteration. So I've got the purple one and the blue one. I don't have the orange one. The purple one's great. And actually, I'm wondering if that is the best iteration of that pedal. I think they got a bit too bells and whistles like with the ones further on, because they were listening to players' comments about, oh, it should do this and it should do that, and you should have this thing splitting off to this and that, and it just got a bit convoluted. But in terms of a pedal where you can just get stuck in and make quick changes and hear the changes, the purple one's great. Not that expensive, you know, you can track them down quite cheap. They've been out for 11 years now, so try one. They're great. I can
You ever
recommend.
listen to that Billy Sheehan Niacin trio?
Oh, yes,
Man, he
absolutely. I
sounds
wanted to
great
go
with
and
those
see them.
chambers.
I'm not even sure if they ever did a London gig. A lot of it was based over in Japan. I remember buying the first album in 97 and loved it. Some great sounds on that.
Yep.
Is it John Novello, keyboard player,
Yep.
organ player? Loved his playing, and that perfectly set off Billy Sheehan's bass lines, because that
Great
Hammond
texture.
was just all over it. And Dennis Chambers, I mean, what's not to like, you know? And then I think I bought, is it High Bias? I think I got that one about 4 years later.
I
And
think I
then
had
there was
about 3 or
another,
4 of those all together, but I've lost track of them.
I'll tell you what, let me open up my Music B music player here, and I can tell you what's on my hard drive, my music drive. Nice. And here we go, 4 albums. So I've got Deep, from 2000, High Bias from 98, the first one from 97, and I've got Organic from 2005, and I think that was the last studio album. There is a live album, which I think is it Blue Note in Japan, and there's a video of it on YouTube.
I have the
I think they did
DVD
a
of that
DVD.
somewhere.
They did a DVD of it, yeah. So that's the lot. Gareth Harrison saw the Winery Dogs a few years back. Yes, I think that
Great
was
stuff.
last summer, 2013. I very lucky. I got to see Winery Dogs in now here we go. 2014 at Camden Underworld, which was amazing, and there is video of it on YouTube. Amazing show. First time I met. Was it though? First time I'd met Billy in a professional capacity to interview him. We had met at the bass clinics he did at the Bass Center in 1991, which is the first bass clinic he ever did in the UK. And I met him again in 97. And when I interviewed him, I'm trying to think, did we do an interview over a phone? No, I don't think we did. So face to face, I was interviewing him at Camden Underworld. He went, "How are you doing?" I said, "Yeah, I'm good." He said, "I remember you. You came to the clinics." I went, "That was like 17 years ago." He said, "I remember your face." I said, "Well, here we go then. We're going to have a blast, aren't we?" So that interview, actually, I'll put it up. You can hear it here on the channel. So that very first interview face to face with Billy Sheehan is right here.
Camden Underworld was one of the places I stuck my nose in when I was in London back in 2016.
Yeah, great venue. Great venue.
Carl
Really
Dawkins,
good.
I believe, is the fellow who's playing bass, and I met him at NAMM.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what his outfit was called, but he
Ah.
was somebody that I met at NAMM, and when I looked him up when I was over there for that Channel 4
Oh,
thing.
okay. Yeah. Yes, so that would have been. So I'm trying to think in my head. That was my first face-to-face interview with Billy Sheehan. Next time I interviewed him was for the Winery Dogs. A year and a half later at the Forum in Kentish Town. And he turned up. They'd done 2 gigs at the start of their winter tour in 2016 for Hot Streak. And he had the worst cold ever. And they sent me to interview him in a room with this stinking cold. Thankfully, I didn't catch it. He's rotten. And if you watch that first link I put up, that's from 2014. There will be a link in there for the second interview with the Winery Dogs. Oh my God. He sounds like he's got an octave pedal on his voice. He's so low. I mean, he's low generally. And then with his cold and sore throat, he was really bad. But he did a blinding gig, and we have a blast. And now every time when we catch up, yeah, we have fun. We have fun. And he knows I know my stuff about his career, so he knows he's not talking to someone who doesn't have a clue, which is good. It inspires confidence. But then I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I've seen him at his very worst. So at the London Bass Show in 2015, he decided he was coming out drinking with the Bass Guitar Mob, Bass Guitar Magazine Mob, and Dave Swift. So at 6:15, I went off for dinner with Aguilar at a Thai restaurant down the road. I came back at about 9:15, where the mag lot were upstairs. And all I could see was Dave Swift laughing, like chuckling like a child. And Billy
He's
Sheehan
hard
was
to
white.
miss.
He was like Casper the Ghost. And Dave Swift had got about 8 pints of Trooper, which is Iron Maiden's signature beer, down Billy Sheehan's neck. Dave Swift is a tall, chunky chap.
I've been drinking with Dave Swift.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So Billy Sheehan at that point said, "I think it's time I went back to my hotel." And my editor said, "Allow me to escort you." So basically, Billy went in front of Joel, and I thought he's not going to get back to his hotel. And this was a spiral staircase that went down. Now, not only did he have to walk down the spiral, he was spinning as he walked down it. He did get back to his hotel courtesy of the editor. The next morning when he turned up, I was already there. He walked in with black sunglasses and a face that was white. It was white as a sheet of paper. And I said to him, "Are you all right?" And he went, "I really don't know." I said, "You do know you're on stage in about 60 minutes." He said, "Can I have 2 cheese and ham sandwiches and about a pint of coffee?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll get that for you." And eventually, by the time he had to perform, he was okay-ish, but he was white. So I've seen that. I've seen him at his lowest level, and I honestly didn't know if he was gonna make it to the show on the Sunday. I thought this is gonna be a write-off. He's not gonna be here.
Yeah, I
But
had the
yeah.
luxury of actually drinking at my own hotel with Dave back when I was staying
Mm,
in Islington for that
yeah.
aforementioned project. So I made it to the elevator, and that's about as far as I was gonna be able to make it.
He can
Because
put
I
it
mean,
away because he's
I'm
a
a
big
bit of a
lad.
wee fella, and I was trying to keep up with his giant self. So
No chance, not a chance. So, yes, and I always remind Mr. Sheehan of that. I have seen you at your lowest ebb. So, yeah, I said, "No, I can't you can't even blame me. I was away having dinner while all that was happening. I came back and all I see is the shell of a man." And next to Dave Swift. I remember saying to Joel, I said, "What the hell happened? I was only
you got
gone
to be
for
in
like."
shape to drink with Dave.
It's a reckless man. He's a reckless man.
It was a good time, though.
So,
I tell you,
yeah,
yeah,
go on.
Dave actually reached out to me at a point where he was thinking about having shoulder surgery and was going to have his right arm be down for a while. And he wanted to kind
Mm,
of pick my brain about the feasibility of applying my kind of technique so he didn't have to take time off. But he
mm,
ended up getting it. I think he put the surgery off for quite some time, so it wasn't an issue finally. But when I was in
yeah.
England over there, he and I hung out a couple times.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he's had, numerous surgeries. He has a love of horror films, but I think he's modeled himself on Frankenstein. He's been
Makes
cut
sense.
open so many times for various things, and, said to him, "You gotta slow up that drinking. Just stop that." And
Well,
he's
I
getting
haven't I haven't talked to him in quite some time since I stopped doing Facebook, but,
okay.
yeah, last time I talked to him, he had just gotten married and just had the child,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, yeah, it was, now that's a good 5, 6 years ago now.
yeah, that sounds about
So,
right.
yeah. No, he's well. Last time I saw him, actually came here on the live chat about a year and a bit ago, and I had him, Joel, we had Lee Sklar on, and
Another
we were
good
all
guy.
talking. It's all good. I'll get Dave back on at some point. But he's such a busy chap. Trying to tie him down to a Tuesday night is a bit tricky. Gareth Harrison, Dave Swift, is he Jules Holland's bassist? Yes,
Yep, yep, the best
personal
gig in
friend.
Europe pretty much, isn't it?
That's it. He's constantly busy, constant. Kevin Allen, non-essential pedals. Does anyone use a flanger? Yes, I do. And I did a little thing a couple of weeks ago about this new purchase. So you can, if you go back through the live chats in the current run, you'll see I bought this, which is a Source Audio Mercury flanger. That is going to be one of the new straight out of the box videos, probably this week. It's outstanding. Outstanding. And the lovely thing with Source Audio pedals is they break the effects down into their categories. And if you then go and use the Neuro app, you hook this up to a phone or your PC or laptop or Mac or whatever, you can go in and download the presets for the other pedals in that category. So by having this flanger, you can download the Gemini chorus patches, the phaser patches. I think there's one other within that realm. Can't remember off the top of my head. If you go for the distortion side, you can buy like the Aftershock, which I've got over there, and you can download all the other distortion pedal patches. They're great, great pedals, great brand. So, but I love their pedals. They're just so flexible, just great. But this thing sounds fabulous. So there'll be a straight out the box video for that very, very shortly. Stacy, this is a good one. Thank you. Spinning Sheehan. Yes, that's a new toy for Christmas. Heading your way. All toy shops should carry that. In fact, that's a good. I should design one of them and get a Chinese factory to build them. I could give them away as prizes. Get your spinning Sheehan here. In fact, I might mention that to him. I said to him, do you want to go in a collaboration here? We could do that. Gareth Harrison, Thin Lizzy tone with a flanger. Absolutely. Dancing in the Moonlight. All of that. All of that. Absolutely. No, I'm a fan of flangers. Kind of what's reignited my love of them was seeing Mark King at Hammersmith last year. And he's very heavily using a flanger when he's doing the slap sections in Love Games when they get to the instrumental part. And I'd not thought about utilizing that when I do slap stuff with Uncle Funk or any of the other bands I play with. And I've started using it. I've got a couple of different flangers actually on these chorus pedals. There's a flanger option. See if you can see it. It might focus or it might not. So you got chorus, pitch modulation, and flanger. So I've started using that now. If I have a little slap section, especially in like ABBA, I've got 2 or 3 songs where there's a little bit of slap. I'll use the flanger on it. It just gives it a whole different level of embellishment. Sounds great. So I had my eye on this Mercury flanger for a while, and then one came up secondhand at Bass Direct, and I thought, I'm having that. So it will be going on the new pedal board, that's for sure. So if, like the fabulous Bill, you would like to come on to the live chat by video, you can email brooksy'sbasscorner@gmail.com. I'll send you an invite. You click on the link and you are through. Are you coming on here today, Stacey, or are you at work? I don't know. I don't know. She might join us by her presence, or she might not. We will see. We will see. Where are we? It's 26 minutes past 10 here in the UK. The evening is flying by. You've got the lovely Bill here from the US. You've got me here in London. We're talking bass guitars, bass amps, bass effects, bass accessories, strings, gig bags, anything to do with bass guitars, famous bass players, doing gigs, building pedal boards, you name it, we're talking about it. So if you've got any questions, looking for some advice, looking for some help, I'm more than happy to help in any way I can. If I don't know the answers to your question, I'll fire it out to the good people here on the live chat and we'll see if we can help you.
I'll just throw it out there too. If anybody's listening
Yes,
who might be faced with any sort of physical impediments that might dissuade them from thinking they can develop a style on the bass, I'm happy to address any of those issues. That's
excellent. Good man.
one of the other things I
That's what we
do
like.
is try to help rehab people who've been injured or
Yeah.
suffered a stroke or partial paralysis or anything like that, to try to get a one-handed style together.
Do you have a website or anything that I can promote
They
for
can
you?
get in touch with me through the Bill Clements on Bass YouTube channel. That's,
Okay,
I pretty much address the questions as they come in if they're specific, but I'm all too happy to help anybody who's facing any sort of difficulties in that regard.
cool. Let's just post that up. What am I looking for in the search box on YouTube?
Just Bill Clements on bass.
Okay, I got you.
It's very
Right,
low fidelity, but yeah, the point gets
that's all
across.
right. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Let me just select that. So if you want to check out Bill's YouTube channel, you can. Here's the link.
Thanks, buddy.
No, that's what we're here for. Promote everyone else. It's good. It's good.
But yeah, that's one of the other things that I feel like I get to give back on, is if
Hmm.
somebody's suffered something that through my experience I can kind of help them through.
So what happened? What happened to your arm?
Factory accident
Ah,
back when I was 21, back in '89.
so about a year ago then.
Yeah.
Good looking chap. Crikey. How long did it take you to get back to being able to play after the accident?
Less than 3 months. I was doing gigs.
Wow.
I was
Okay.
turning up at rehearsals probably about 6 weeks after the accident.
Crikey. Okay. And that's just literally that.
Yeah,
You
exactly. I
yeah.
you know, bottom line is I didn't. Was too stubborn to quit, essentially.
It's a good characteristic to have. That'll get you far in life.
It also gets me in some trouble here and there.
Yeah. Kevin Allen, my right hand ring finger doesn't bend anymore, but I just use the two that do and my thumb. If that's what works for you, go for it. You know,
Indeed. Always a
it's
workaround.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we used to run a few columns in the magazine about you know, the physicality and trying to avoid injury and all those things. But bass is a funny instrument for that because it's so physical. The strings are so big, the instrument's long, you know, finger pressure, you know.
It requires its
You
own set of prerequisites. That's true.
correct. Yeah. It's a learning curve. But just as you and other people I've seen who've had accidents or impediments, you can work around it. You can find your route. You've just got to find it. That's all. And plow your own furrow, you know, but it can be
Well,
done.
that's the other thing I think is really important too, especially if you're trying to be if there's an intrinsic quality of expression that you're trying to
Hmm.
achieve through the instrument, is you have to really create a context in which to do your own thing. You can't. I know for a fact
Yeah,
that I can't just join another band and play like I play. You know,
of
I have
course.
to,
Of
unless
course.
they're specifically after that. But I mean, I think, look at a Steve Harris or somebody like that. You have to create the contextually appropriate spot for you to do your own thing
Hmm.
in. And
Do you
sometimes
ever
that
use
requires.
loopers, sequences
No,
at all?
I don't, mainly because I tend to not be. I don't even rely on my prosthetic to play, and I try not to rely upon it as much as I can for my day to day.
Hmm.
Another thing is that I tend a lot, especially when I first came out, a lot of people were saying I was faking it, that I wasn't really doing it.
Oh,
So I don't like there to be. I like there to be as little between me and the amp and the signal and what people see and hear as possible, to sort of
sure.
forego any opportunity for them to say I'm relying on something other than basically
Yeah.
my own personal tenacity.
Oh, good. Good for you, man. Good for you. That's it. We like warriors on this channel. You keep
Well,
doing your thing.
I've been called worse, that's for sure.
Stacy says, "Oh wow, Bill, good on you. How nice."
Well,
There you
thanks,
go.
Stacy.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So it is 10:32 here in London. Very welcome to Brooksy's Bass Corner live chat 80 here on the channel. I can't believe we've done 80 of these, but we have. And thank you all very much for getting involved, coming back week after week. New subscribers. We've got 2 new subscribers tonight while we've been doing the live chat. So thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. John Cooper, good for you, Bill. Gareth Harrison, a good friend of mine, is currently touring the US playing bass with Paul Weller. Who's that, Gareth? Name
Paul
names.
Weller Jam, Paul Weller?
Yeah, doing a solo tour.
Final Counsel Paul Weller?
That's
Love
exactly the
that
very
guy.
same. He's still out there doing his thing.
I have ever changing moods as well, so I find him very relatable.
Yeah, he's an angry man, but he's always been angry.
It's that kind of world. It'll do that to you sometimes.
Yeah. Jake Fletcher is the bass player. Well, good for him. Hope he's enjoying it. Is it a long tour, Gareth? Is he away for months, or is it a big cities only kind of tour?
Speaking of big cities, I'm going to
Mm.
try to go see the Beat Project in Detroit, I think, here.
Oh yeah, the original beat.
Yeah, yeah. Tony Levin's a great guy as well. He's bumped into him a few times. He's been really cool.
Mm. Yeah, no, he's a good dude. He's a good dude. Stacy, his ever-changing moods. Yes, exactly. Big cities, I think. Okay, so they're just doing the big stops, not the small ones. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, so topic of discussion tonight for those who might be coming on late is what's the one effect pedal you just can't live without. If you had to do the rest of your teeth in, if you had to do all the gigs for the rest of your life and you could only have one pedal, what would it be? Let us know. Let us know. Tell us. Kevin Allen loved Tony and his 3-string Music Man. Absolutely. I've got before he had his big fire, there was he did an issue of Guitarist and an interview. He's talking a lot about his 3-string Stingray, and I've got it here.
I'm fairly certain if all he had was 2 bricks to bang together, Tony Levin could do something interesting with them.
Yeah. Oh yes. Absolutely. Oh yeah. So this is from 1994 with the old school Trace Elliott adverts on the back. They were always on the back cover. Look how thick that is for a magazine. Sorry. Huge.
I miss
phone
the
directory.
days.
242 pages in a guitar magazine. Unheard of now. So not only in this issue do you get Tony Levin, you also get an interview with Mick Kahn, which is
Didn't he is he passed away?
Yeah, he died a couple of years ago from cancer.
Yeah, that's a loss.
And then there's also an interview, very extensive interview with Dave Bronze, who was Eric Clapton's bass player for a number of years. So in a copy of Guitarist, you had 3 seriously good bass player interviews. So let me find this picture of Tony Levin's and a big interview with Peter Gabriel as well. And there were loads of bass reviews. Where is it? Come on. Those were the days. Where is this interview? He's front cover, so it can't be that far in. Ah, here we go. Here we go. Right. So there's one picture of you want to go that way. 3-string Stingray. Nice bit of binding there. There's another picture.
Had a nice Stingray I got rid of when money got tight.
Yeah. We've all been there. Look at the peg. Look at the headstock. 2/1. That's unique, but they were in the fire. He had a fire at his house and loads of instruments got damaged. And he had the burnt one that he got someone to draw on and made the burn look like an afro, which I thought was great. I can see messages here. Stacy, Mick Kahn of Japan. Yes, he was amazing. Yes, he was. John Cooper, on effect settings, I always found it trial and error to find decent sounds, especially with Octave. Never any science behind it. Do you have any effect setting tips for Octave or chorus? Yes, Octave. Right. My preference when I'm doing Uncle Funk shows. So if I've only got like 2 controls, so some octaves, this is all you get. I will give myself 75% dry signal and 50%, maybe 60 at a push, the octave effect. If you use too much of the octave and not enough of the normal, you don't get that synth-like quality because you're not getting the natural mids and highs. The octave is going to basically fill out the bottom end. So you need the mids from your instrument and the treble response to give you some clarity. That's what works for me. It might not be the same for you. Now, other octave pedals that have got more controls. So if you're going for the Black Label Octabass, I will always go for the high frequency setting on it. Again, the octave effect is going to work on those frequencies and pronounce them. The bottom end will take care of itself. But what I want when I'm using an effect pedal is I want to be able to hear what my guitar is doing dry signal wise, and then that octave effect is illuminating what I'm playing in terms of a dry signal. So it gives it a characteristic sound, a bit of an identity. I don't want it just to be a load of bottom end mush. That's not what I'm after. So for me, John, that's what I go for on an octave pedal. Now, if you go for the Aguilar, it's a different thing. That's working differently. So with that, you've got octave level, clean level. So that's kind of the same as we've got there. You've then got an octave filter and a clean tone. So the sounds you get out of that are quite different to an EBS octave pedal or a Boss octave. It's just a different
I feel like the
character.
room has a lot to do with how an octave effect comes across
There's
too,
that, and the stage you're on. So
and
I've
the
been on
sound mixing too.
stages that have
Like
been a
I get that.
solid
Yeah,
stage, and it will soak that bass end out. Yet you go on a hollow stage, and it will accentuate the bottom end. So it's an experimental thing. Any gig you go on, try your octave pedal before you start performance, because it can all change. I've done gigs where I've kicked the octave in and then had to adjust it in the gap between the next two songs, because it wasn't right. It wasn't right for that stage or that gig. So
high ceilings
that,
and reflective surfaces too. That's a
or
big factor.
curtains and carpets.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that, it's like a sponge that will just soak everything up. And in that situation, you might have to pronounce the octave effect more, or give yourself more of your dry signal. It's
you
a
know,
mix and match. Now,
pulling your own personal EQ back a little bit too,
yeah, all of that.
especially if you got one of those rooms at high ceilings, concrete, glass, a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, agreed. And chorus, well, that's a different thing entirely. So for me with chorus, I don't want a big swirly mess. That's not what I want. What I like is to be able to have as low a rate as possible, so that if I play a note on chorus, I'm not getting whooshing and kind of edging towards a flanging effect. I want thickness and body in the signal, but I don't want it so much that it's just turning everything
Pitchy.
into, yeah. And so I tend to lower the rate as much as I can. On some pedals, you have to, it's like literally set the rate at minimum and then come up one notch, and then you get your chorus effect without it being swampy, if that makes sense. Now, the way Mark King used to do chorus was he didn't have a chorus effect. He had two Yamaha E1010 delays, and he would set them at different time intervals, and that would create the delay effect. So everyone thought, oh, he's got a chorus pedal. He never had a chorus pedal. He was using those two units just set at different times. As time progressed and he upgraded his kit, he ended up going across to TC Electronics. So then he had processors in his rack, and he was doing it with that. These days, he does everything with floor pedals. But in the good old days, that's what he was doing. So for chorus, it depends what you're trying to achieve. If you've got a point of reference or a song or a line that you're trying to copy, chances are now you can go into Google it. It'll tell you what the guy was using and what settings he had. But generally, you don't, unless you're in like a Cure tribute or something a bit gothic, you don't want to start using high rates and, I think, what else comes on, huge amounts of depth. You want to keep things minimal and get the sound you're after, or get the effect you're after. Because on bass, if you're going to use chorus, chances are you've got it on for a whole song. It's not like an octave thing where you're going to kick it in and out depending on certain passages. Chorus is going to be a bit more constant, so you don't want something that's just going to like mash up the band's EQ and mix on stage. But it's same with any
Exactly.
bass effect. A little will go a long way, and you've just got to
Yeah, the chorus
find.
too has got that. It makes it sound a little like you're out of tune if you don't apply it judiciously.
That's it. It's find your pocket of effectiveness and go with that. It's like bass fuzz. Very rare that you turn a bass fuzz and have it on the whole song. You're going to use it as an impact statement in like a little motif or a little line, and that's, or for me, that's kind of what I end up finding with any of these effects. Gareth Harrison, like I mentioned last week, always wanted to try Chapman stick because of Tony Levin. It's never too late. You just got to track one down. They do come up. You just got to look for one.
That was
John
actually the
Cooper.
first instrument I
Go on.
went for after my accident, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, by the time, and I dealt with Emmett Chapman and his wife Uta directly, and they were wonderful people. But I'll tell you what, ergonomically, the way it is set
Mm,
up, the bulk of the instrument is meant to be reached with the right hand,
yeah.
and
It hangs
it
quite
just
low, doesn't it?
Yeah. So ergonomically, it did not end up working for me as I'd hoped it would. And also, by the time I actually had it in my possession, I'd sussed out kind of what I was going to do on the regular bass, and
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like a bass. It's really its own animal. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
But great folks over there, and they're all too happy to do pretty much whatever you want.
Mm. Yeah, sure. Let's see what we got there. Oh, John Cooper, cool, thanks. The controls on my Line 6 Octave are tone, normal, and octave. Okay, so I would set normal at about 75%. I'd have octave at about 50, and I'd use your tone control to give yourself some color in that. So if you're finding the octave effect is a little too pronounced and you're hearing it like processing and tracking, reduce the tone. But if you want more of that, again, it's gonna accentuate your string noise and general clatteriness, then fine, go for it. You know, if you're doing something percussive, you might want to increase that tone control. Always sounds different in each venue. Exactly what we've been saying. Last gig was lots of glass. Exactly.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
you're going to have to adjust. You know, with any effect, it's like when I said how I set up that PV bass effects at home and then took it on a gig, and none of the presets worked for the gig because you're not setting it up in a realistic situation. You kind of need to go into one of those venues and use your sound check time and setup time to get the sounds right. There's no point doing it at home. It's not a gig situation. Gareth Harrison, chorus sounds great with fretless. Absolutely, as does octave. Kevin Allen, octave as low frequency can also be affected by speaker drop off. Yeah, agreed. I can really tell if I'm playing through 10s and 12s in comparison to a 15 and an 18, especially for octave pedals. Correct. John Cooper, thanks, guys. I really appreciate the advice. What we're here for, as you know. My chorus settings are just about right. Got a lovely Pinot tone nailed. Well, you need octave for that. But more experimentation needed with the octave. So thanks for the tips. That's all right. Just bear in mind with octave pedals, as I've mentioned last week and weeks before, you can have 10 octave pedals. They're all going to sound totally different from each other, even within the same brand. So don't be afraid to go into a store if you're like here in the UK. Go to somewhere like Bass Direct. Chances are they're going to have a good 6 or 7, and you can just line them all up, power them up, play a line and kick each one in individually, and you're going to hear the differences. And from that, you're going to find the sounds that you like best. And I said the other week, you know, my friend Gary and I sat down in autumn 2019, and he said, "What's the best octave pedal?" He said, "I've got loads, and I just can't find the sound I'm after." I said, "Right, I'll bring a bass over." He's got like 80 basses. I didn't need to take a bass over, but that's by the by. And we wired them all up. We got them all in chain. And I said, right, play what you want to play. And we kicked each one in. While he was doing the playing, I was adjusting the levels. And I said, well, what's your point of reference? What song are you trying to copy? What bass player are you trying to copy? And eventually we found the sounds. And between both of us, we both agreed all those pedals that this MXR vintage bass octave, the small one, not the big one, the small one, was the best sounding, easiest to get the sounds we were after. That one. I'll get it out of the bag.
And also peeling your low end off your EQ. Once again, that can be the key. That can be the missing link in terms of if your octave pedal sounds muddy, it may just be because you're not giving it enough substantial high frequency to put the lower octave on. You know,
correct. The godsend with this pedal is it has a mid boost. So if you're in the middle of playing, you can't adjust on your bass or your amp, you just kick that switch in, and that makes such a difference to how that pedal performs. But it's great. And it worked. Weirdly, it should sound the same as the bigger version, and it doesn't. So there's a version of this that is double the size with exactly the same controls. It should be the same circuit, but it ain't. It just isn't. This thing just beat it, and all the others we put up against it. It had the most authentic sounds that both of us were trying to accomplish on that day. So, and was it you, John Cooper, that tried one of these? Someone took my words of wisdom the other week and went and tried one in a store and bought it. Maybe it wasn't you. Someone did. Someone who was on one of the live chats, saw me say that and went and bought it and went, it's the best one in the shop. Sometimes I know what I'm talking about. Not often, but occasionally. Right, yeah, we're up to date with all the messages there. Very good. Stacey, at your work, or are you coming on the live chat, or what? If she's at work, she won't be. Maybe another time. But yeah. The world of effects. It's a murky
Stacey
world.
seems like a very positive person. She seems to pop up on here quite a bit.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. She's supported the channel since we started, so it's very good. She's based in North Carolina.
Can't have too many boosters.
A hairdresser by trade. Let's have a look here. Stacey, yes. And once the venue fills up, but you've sound checked in a relatively empty space, it's got to be a bit of adjusting. It's the same thing as compression. When you are sound checking, you can apply compression, and as soon as the room fills up with people, you've got to take the compression off because they're sapping the transient frequencies that are flying around the room.
Bodies will absorb that.
It's like a sponge. So what you get at a sound check, and I've been in this situation where we've had a lively sound check sound. The guys dampened it all down using effects from the desk and noise gates and what have you. We come out to do the first song, and everyone's going, why doesn't it sound very good? And that we can hear in the auditorium or in the room or whatever, in the hall, that it doesn't sound how it sounded an hour and a half ago. And you've kind of got to say to someone off stage, tell him to take the effing compressors off, and suddenly all the sparkle comes back. Because when we were sound checking, it was all bouncing around the room, so he was compressing and noise gating it. And as soon as people are in there, it's doubled that effect. So you've got to take one level away, which is what's happening on the desk. John Cooper, no, haven't tried that. Are we talking about suggesting Octave for that? Kevin Allen, by the way, I have a stick, and Emmett made it a 7-5 double bass for me. It's the instrument I bought a child seat for on the plane back to the UK. Can confirm they are very nice people. There you go. I have a question for you, Bill, from Gareth Harrison. How do you find the fret wraps?
Well, I came across the fret wrap. The Groove Gear is the company that makes them. It's GRUV Gear. And I reckon they'll probably have their own website. I bumped into them on purpose.
I've got
accidentally. They saw me tying a sock around mine, and yeah, up until I met those guys, I was tying a black sock around my first fret.
Cool. And do you find they take any of your tone away, or does enough of the tone come through?
Well, I'll tell you,
because basically, if you look at it, it's basically the same as having a piece of foam at the bridge, just at the opposite end.
Well, actually, I'll mute at the bridge end too sometimes for extra. But as far as if you've got your action really super low, it's more of a thing. But once again, this goes back to like making sure you got a good fundamental note coming off your instrument. If you're doing tapping of any kind, you kind of want to resist the urge to have as low an action as possible, because the quality, the integrity of the note starts to degrade if you get too low with it. But if you got also most people are all about adjusting their bridge, but you can adjust your nut height too. And for me, figuring that out was a key thing as far as making sure there was.
Did you have to fit a new nut? Did you have to fit a new nut and recut it?
It depends on how you're going. If it's too low, what I've done is I put a little drop of super glue on there to raise it up a little bit. You can always take some off with a file. You just have to be judicious, because if you go too far, then you're back to building it up. But in the event that you're messing around with that and you take too much off, save the dust. It's easier to do with brass or bone, but if you save the dust and pull it off to the side, you find you got to go back up a little bit, mix the super glue with that dust and reapply it to the groove, and then sand it, and you can build it up to the height you need.
That's it.
Another thing
That's
that
it.
took me a long time to figure out.
There's also the option that if you go too far with your nut, take the nut off and fit a very thin level of shim under there,
Underneath,
and then
yeah, yeah.
and it's really like the thinnest amount. It's like
You
fractions
gotta
of
have a
millimeters.
very, very wafer thin. It's got to
That's
be.
it. It's like paper.
Uh,
And
uh,
and
uh,
and and people always look at that and go, "How can that make a difference?" And you'll put a shim in, and it's very thin, and they'll suddenly go, "That's made all the difference between that bass not being playable, and now it's actually how I want it to be."
the problem with
Right, we've got
doing
a load of
that is
say
you
again?
don't put your glue in there until you make sure you
No,
got the
correct.
right tolerance
Yeah,
going, because then you got to break her off again and start from scratch, and that's a pain.
that's it. Got some questions here for you. Stacy says, "Hey, I'm still at workplace, haircuts and brows today." Okay. I do love this channel as a hobby basis. There's always something helpful and no judgment ever. You know me, Stace, no judgment. Gareth Harrison, super glue and baking soda. There we go. And then Stacy says, "See, all sorts of excellent advice." Well, you know where to come for the base advice, don't you? We've done 80 of these. I'd hope you'd go nowhere else, frankly. Let's see, where are we? That's all good. And the stream health is good too. That's excellent. Okay. And that's all looking fine. So we're all good. Excellent. Here we go.
Of course, as you get older, your nut height will change too.
Well, quite. Everything drops, I think you'll find. Let me see what we got there. So that's, sorry, I'm just running through the housekeeping here, so that's all good. Oh, I need to do that as well. A big thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you very much. We've had a couple new ones tonight while we're doing this. So, you know, you're very welcome. You know where we are. We're here every Tuesday, 8 o'clock UK time, right through till December the 17th. We have live chats. So every Tuesday. And as I said earlier, there'll be a whole load of new content going up from tomorrow. So all the summer festival chaos for me is now over. So all the things I've been planning on putting up and having to postpone can start appearing as of tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled. There'll be videos tomorrow and Friday, probably a short on Thursday as well. I tend not to put videos out at weekends because people have their own things going on, but I will have a plan of action for literally the next month going forward. So there's going to be a lot of pedal videos, bass reviews and demos, all the new gear I've got here, like the Flatley pedals, which I have here. We've got a fuzz pedal and a clean bass booster. They're here. And we've got the Neil Murray Snakebite basses from the Bass Center. And we've got the that lovely short scale bass from Wilcock basses, which is right here. So there'll be a nice video and review of this very, very imminently. I've been working on this for about a week. So that little blighter with its Novak pickup, that will be coming in. And actually the bass gallery here in London at the moment have 4 very special, unique Viv Wilcock basses in stock. He did 4 last year. He's done 4 this year. They're in there now. There's a cherry sunburst flame maple bass, which just looks outstanding. So if you're thinking of buying a Viv Wilcock bass and you're going to buy one soon, I'd go and look at those limited editions. I think you'd be very well advised to do so. Stacy saying yes, the Wilcock, absolutely. Kev Allen, nut height. Harley Benton do a set of feeler gauges so you can switch them in and out until you find what works. Music Nomad also do a very good set of diamond files for nuts. Then if you really won't, just cut the gauge material and place it under. There's also, I think, Crimson Guitars, there's another company do it as well. There's like an adjuster that you put up against the nut, and it has the preset what you need to cut, and until you get to that point with the file, It's not deep enough. Well worth checking out. If you, what I'm trying to explain, I'm doing in a rush, but if you go to Dave's World of Fun Stuff and find any of the videos where he's doing nut cutting, no, it's not a medical procedure, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Exactly. Yes, be careful. You don't want to go near a blade. And he works for Solo, which is I think a guitar retailer store in Canada, and they got in some they were like nut gauges, and it's basically a block that you put up against the nut, and until you get to that point for a certain height or gauge, you carry on cutting. It makes sense when you see it. Anyway, well worth checking out. Stacy, love that little expensive thing. That's the Wilcock bass. The blue one has your heart. Yeah, green and blue look very good. Gareth Harrison, thick or thin pick? I currently use Dunlop Max Grip 1mm. Well, funnily you should say that, because I've got a bunch of picks here on my desk. So these are pretty much, it's not that. There should be a blue one. I tend to use Dunlop Tortex, although I do now have some Music Man Ernie Ball pickups, which are great. So I'll tell you what I'm using, right? So the yellow Dunlop Tortex is a 0.73 mil. Anyone that wants to do Mike Dirnt from Green Day or Bobby Vega, that's the pick you need. That's the Bobby Vega pick. So you want to do all his very extremely funky swiping, sweeping stuff. That's what he uses. Then when I'm doing Queen shows, I use these yellow Ernie Ball picks, which I think are like 1.1. But I also am a firm believer in the Dunlop Tortex. The eyes aren't what they used to be. 1.14. And I use that on some songs. I don't use it on all of the Queen tracks. I then have the blue Dunlop Tortex, which I think it's 1, but it might be 0.9. I can't remember. And I use that for under pressure. Now, the reason I use different picks there is this one is far stiffer and firmer. So when I'm doing things like Hammer to Fall, which is a lot of dun 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 dun, a lot of 8s, you got a firmer pick. I don't need so much flexibility. It's just brute force. When I'm doing under pressure and you got ding 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 ding, you want the one that's got a bit more bend. Don't use a 73 on Queen. It don't work. But I use the purple and the blue, and between those, that covers everything. So One Vision, Tie Your Mother Down, I'm going for that. When we get to Under Pressure, I'm using that. When we do Fat Bottom Girls, I use that because then the E string is tuned down to D, so you've already got a lot of flap going on there. I don't want the full-on 1.14. It's too much. So I use that, and it works. Works for me. So don't be afraid, Gareth, to have different picks for different things. You'll get different sounds. How you play will change, but also the string attack changes. So buy a bunch of different gauges. And from that, if none of those work for you, depending on what you're doing, you know whether to go up, down, or in the middle from those gauges. There's so many different gauges. You could spend the rest of your life trying to find what works, but you know, go pick 3 points. So go light, middle, heavier, and then from that you'll find the connotation that works best for you. Let me see here. Right, yes, so that's that. Another one from Gareth. Car feeler gauges. Yep, got loads of them. Stack them to the height of the first fret, then place them next to the nut. Yep, and stop when the file hits the feeler gauge. That's the other way of doing it. Kev Allen, sorry, got to go. Thanks for the chat. Pleasure, Kev. See you soon. Take it easy. Have a great week. Enjoy your bass play. Bill says bye as well. Let's see if we've got anyone trying to come in. No, we're okay. Looks like it's just me and you, Buster. That's cool. And it's just gone 11. So we'll probably do about another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll call it a day. So if you've got any other questions about basses, bass guitars, amps, effects, pedals, strings, gig bags, you might want to talk to Bill about any of his bass playing endeavors, We're here. That's what we're here for. Happy to help, offer advice, whatever we can do to help you out.
I'll tell you, can't mention playing the bass with a pick without talking about Chris Squire, I don't think. Just as a
now we're talking, aren't we? So, anyone wants to hear my interview with Chris Squire from almost exactly 1 year before he passed away. This was an interview I did for Bass Guitar magazine just as they released the album. I think it was Heaven and Earth that came out just before, like a year before he died. And I was very lucky that I got to do the first interview of the day. He had 10 interviews to do, and I got him first. And it was fed back to me from, oh, what a beast of a man. I shook his hand. It was like shaking hands with a bear. I mean, his hand was huge. It's just enormous. And he was a bit frosty at the start of the day, and he'd had to travel from wherever he was coming in from. But once he got 2 white wines in him, he was good as gold. And
I heard he liked a drink.
He did like a drink. That's quite true. But he realized I knew what I was talking about again, because I was a huge Yes fan. And I wasn't just one of the hacks from the papers who wanted to talk nonsense. I actually knew the albums. I knew the history of the band, and he was great. He was absolutely
I think that's another fine example of a player that, because he was such a he was a controlling interest kind of member of the band, you know, not just just a bass player. You know, it was his energy and drive that kept that thing going. That you can't play with such a distinctive style unless you're creating the context in which to do it. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Rick Wakeman said on many occasions, you know, Yes could not exist without Chris Squire in it. And lo and behold, here we okay, they managed to keep it going for 8-9 years, but you know, he really was like the pivot that everything else hung off in that band.
And such a unique voice too. It'd be foolish not to, for the other guys not to recognize exactly how integral he was.
His harmonies are monstrous because he was a choir boy as a kid. So he knew how to set a vocal up as the main melody and then hang all these lovely harmonies off it, and how you interweave it all, and just amazing. Just a titan of bass playing. But his tone, I mean, it took me ages.
Think about how audacious he was for his time too, placing, you know, that's pure chutzpah and balls, just making your statement like that at a time when the bass really, for whatever else it was, I'm not saying there weren't happening players around then, but nothing quite like that, and nothing that occupied the same melodic space or anything like that.
And choice of instrument, you know, he was a huge fan of Jack Bruce and John Entwistle, and yet chose the instruments that were nothing like. He was finding his own voice, and then to find rotor sound strings. Now, if you compare his tone with Entwistle, you can see the lineage, but it's a totally different tone, because that's what a Rickenbacker is going to produce.
He was a carbon copy of nobody, and they literally broke the mold when he was made. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely. I mean, I could just listen to the tracks, if some, you know, isolated tracks of his bass lines are songs in themselves.
Yes, they certainly
are. And if you take them out of context, they still hold up, because there's melody, there's harmony, all connecting to it. Just and to come up with those lines.
Yeah, in a lineal context, I'd say Geddy comes next, but even Geddy, during his Rickenbacker period, does not have the same voice on the instrument.
No, but that's, you see, that's why people go and buy Rickenbackers and think they're going to sound like Chris Squire. You aren't, because that was a one-off instrument that had been planed down and shaved, and then what he was running it through, you know, Marshall guitar heads into bass cabinets, into this, into the. It's just a unique library. There was a guy, I could find it if I go looking, but there's a guy, I think he's a Greek guy, and he set up like a playing project thing in studios where he's got a band that can do all of it, and he is basically a carbon copy of Chris's bass player. That's all he does. You know, if you asked him to play Larry Graham funk lines, he's going to struggle, because that's not his thing. But in terms of replicating what Chris Squire does on a guitar and how he sounds, he's got it. He's totally got it. And it's hard work, you know, it's an education to be able to
But you
play
really
like
have
that.
to set out to do just that. You know, if you're
That's
going to
it.
do that, you're kind of like it's almost chiseled in stone that that's what you're doing. Speaking of
That's
Larry
it.
Graham, have you seen that clip of Mark King playing with Larry Graham?
I was there.
Oh, well, I guess you have then.
I've yeah, that happened in 2013. So Larry was here to promote his album. I think it was Up or Rise Up, and he was supposed to be in London 6 months earlier, and the gig got cancelled at Clapham, and it got moved to Jazz Cafe. Did 3 nights. So I was already lined up to do an interview with Larry, and then the night before, we get an email come round from the PR company saying, by the way, Mark King's going to be there all 3 nights. And we're like, oh, okay. So the first night I went, Mark comes on, does his thing with Larry. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I then interviewed Larry the next morning. We're having a right old chat about Mark King and everything else. I didn't even know he was aware who Mark King was. He went, I clocked him in America in 1984. I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, he said, whenever I see any bass player slap, they're one of my children. He said, so I was well aware of Mark King's accomplishments. So, yeah.
Man, Mark looks sharp in that video. I've never seen him dressed up like that before.
He learned something from Larry about how to jazz a gig up, you know, how to change what you know, hats. And
Yeah, it was a bad
so
outfit.
I didn't see the middle night, but then I saw the final night. And on the final night, not only did Mark get up with Larry, Rob Harris from Jamiroquai and Paul Turner from Jamiroquai got up as well. So then you had 3 bass players on the stage. Now the problem was on Mark's TC Electronic Blacksmith head, you can connect 2 basses. So he was plugged in, Paul Turner was plugged in, and for some reason then Mark's link dropped out. So you've got Paul and Larry and Mark, and then Mark was relegated to tambourine.
Well, you know, like I said, some guys can bang 2 bricks together and make it interesting.
It was great, and I've got a load of it on video. And actually, again, if you go to the Larry Graham video here on my channel, you'll see a load of the video from that night. So you'll see Paul Turner, you'll see Mark King and Rob Harris and Larry. But there's no audio because then I'll get hit with a copyright strike, which isn't the plan. But that was great. And then 2 years later, he did it again. So Larry was on at the Jazz Cafe again, did 2 nights. Mark was there for both. And yeah, I mean, what's not to like?
It was a great performance. Or at least the one I saw. I don't know
Really good.
what night it was from.
Really
But
good. No, the thing is, in the Jazz Cafe, if you get the sound right, it's great. If you make a pig's ear of it, it's dreadful. But they really got it, and he's got quite a big band, and it worked really well. I've got a question for you here from Gareth. What song made you want to play bass? That's for you.
wow, you know, oddly enough, the song that made me want to play bass had nothing to do with the bass.
Okay.
You know, at that time, when everybody starts listening to the radio, 13 years old, I was listening to like basically classic rock, and I was really into the Who and
Mm-hmm.
Pinball Wizard. As you know, the studio recording of that big intro, that's overdub guitar. But
Yeah.
I had a buddy who took guitar lessons, and he had that Pete Townsend strumming down. Paul Samro was his name, and my best friend in
Okay.
school. And he brought his guitar over because he came over after a lesson. He started playing that, and when I saw him execute that, I go, wow, this is something you can really do, and not just something
Mm.
rock gods are capable of. And I was like, well, all right, my buddy already plays guitar. That means I'm going to grab the bass because you don't need 2 guitars. And then I just immersed myself in everything that was proggy that had real prominent bass, Rush most principally,
Mm.
but yes, the old Genesis, Love Lamb That Lies Down on Broadway, the Peter Gabriel Plays Live record with Tony on it, with those great ripping on the air, you know, where he's just driving the shit out of it, picking it like there's no tomorrow. All those slides and dive bombs he's doing. And then
Yeah.
I heard Donna Lee by Jocko, and that
That'll
completed the
change your
sort of
outlook.
Yeah, well, I mean, it gave me the between the rock stuff and the jazz stuff, that gave me the kind of full spectrum of all the things the bass could do, and it
Mm,
wasn't relegated to just any one thing. It was really the instrument that could occupy all the different spaces. It could be the lead vocal, it could be the support, it's the rhythmic interface between the harmony and the melody and the rhythm and all
yeah,
that stuff. So it was basically a buddy showing me that actually making music was a realistic thing for a young fella to try to do, that spurred my enthusiasm for, like, okay, well, we don't need two guitar players. I'm going to grab that bass and go to town.
cool. There you go. That answered your question, Gareth. Hey, there we
And
are.
then
It's,
and then after that, would kind of look at in Guitar Player magazine. That was the only real resource. But any interview with bass players, I kind of immersed myself into looking into whatever they said influenced them. And a lot of the older cats, the things that they had to look at were upright players.
mm-hmm.
So I kind of did a self study on jazz and all of the guys like Jimmy Blanton and Mingus and Scott LaFaro and Nils Henning
Great,
Orsted Peterson, just kind of the
Ray
lineal
Brown.
chain of who are the great bass players that came to
Yeah.
prominence. And that also gave me the idea of, understanding how sometimes a guitar player who plays bass plays like a guitar player playing bass as opposed to a bass player, and how an upright
Mm,
bass player doesn't have any of that guitar connection. So their note choices and the way their notes fall in the beat is totally different than the bass guitar. So,
yeah.
and that's, I think, kind of where funk and all the other things come in, where the one occupies a slight, you can be right on top of it, you can be behind it, you
Mm-hmm.
can be in front of it. So I think I kind of really made it a point to research all the iterations of the instrument and all of its various functions as I was a youngster, and that and practicing and practicing and practicing.
Cool. Cool. Here we are. There we are. Gareth saw a video Yannick Grisdala did where he stated Chris Squire used to go to his gigs and would talk bass afterwards, and Yannick didn't have a clue who Chris Squire was.
Can you imagine?
Do your homework, man, for God's sake. Come on.
Even when you
Stacy,
don't
oh
know
wow.
tornado.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Come on. Everyone knows yeah, the other
I
one's
actually think Tales from Topographic Oceans might be my favorite Yes record.
wowzers. Okay. I think close to the edges for me, but there are songs on Fragile, South Side of the Sky.
Oh, I mean, I
I
love
love.
them all, but I mean, I think the more obscure stuff tends to be the more interesting.
Well, talking of obscure, so my favorite bass, Chris Squire, well, actually two on the same album, which is on Drama. Uh, and the bass tone on that is just huge. And then obviously, oh, Tempest Fugit.
Very baroque.
Both of them. Yes, totally. Totally. But so Chris Squire. Just totally him. And he makes that's his bass line for the verse. It's like, how the hell did you? And I think at that point they were just coming up with lines and cobbling stuff together because they didn't have the core of the old band. Jerry Blair, hello, good evening, welcome. We're going to be winding down shortly, Jerry, so you've dropped in a little late, but that's okay. Gareth Harrison, that's why James Jameson used a lot of open strings as he came from the upright. Exactly. Stacey saying hello to Jerry Blair. There's loads of good stuff here tonight, Jerry, so you might need to watch this on catch up. Lots of good info here tonight. So it's coming up 20 past 11, and I think we're going to start winding down very shortly. So I'll start saying thank you very much, Bill. It's been an absolute pleasure. Anytime you want to come on, just say, I'll send you an invite and come on. It's great. Good stuff.
Back at you, buddy. You know I love shop talk.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for every Tuesday. Thank you to everyone that's got involved tonight, all the new subscribers, all the comments, all the shares. It's all very much appreciated. And I know I say that every week, but if I don't say it and you guys don't do it, then nothing happens. I can't do the channel without you guys. So that's how this works. So thank you for all the comments and shares this week. It's been huge. New subscribers going through the roof. We keep getting subscriber surges. It's fabulous. Thank you very much. So new content going up tomorrow and Friday. Won't be anything at the weekend because I'll be using Sunday to edit. And then next week, hopefully, there could well be 3 long form videos a week between now and probably start of December. So keep an eye on the channel. If you aren't already a subscriber, feel free to hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell, because otherwise you probably won't get the notifications that new content's going up. But there will be a lot of it. I don't want to oversaturate everyone and suddenly people go, oh, it's too much, I can't watch all of it. I'll try and pace it out, but I'm kind of playing catch up now because we haven't done a video since start of July and it's now the middle of September. So we're going to try and leather it a bit. So on that note, Bill's going to say good night. I'm going to say good night. We're going to see you next week. Same time, same place, every Tuesday, 8 o'clock UK time. Thank you for all your input, all the chat tonight. Absolutely fabulous. Wonderful. Have a great week. Enjoy your bass playing. Bill, you go get some dinner. I'm going to go to bed. We'll see you next week, gang. Thanks very much. See you next week.
Buddy.
Take it easy. Cheers, man. Bye-bye.